Welcome back to BALA Manhua Recaps, and welcome to Part 2, for those who are new to the channel or haven't seen the previous part yet. Part 1, which is nearly 12 hours long, is already available on our channel, covering the main character's entire journey from the very beginning. You can find the full playlist link in the video description and pinned in the comments below, so make sure to check it out. Getting back to the story. At the end of Part 1, our main character Hong Feng was plunged into a brand new harem crisis, after little Jian innocently blurted out 14th aunt, leaving Ling Hao utterly stunned. Right in the middle of this tense, jealous atmosphere, an arrogant fool unexpectedly shows up outside the room to start trouble. How will Hong Feng handle this chaotic situation? Without further ado, let us dive straight into Part 2 right now. A sudden urgent call rang out in the simple courtyard. "Holy Envoy, is the Holy Envoy here?" The reply to the new visitor came from inside. "The Holy Envoy says she doesn't want to see you. You can go back." Han Tianyi heard the voice from outside. It struck him like a thunderbolt. He was utterly shocked. A man? How could there be a man's voice in the Holy Envoy's residence? His mind immediately conjured an image of Xian's face full of grievance, looking up to the heavens and sighing. The tone and attitude were so fierce, nothing like a servant or attendant. More like half the master of this courtyard, my moonlight. Han Tianyi suppressed his doubts and shouted, "Who are you? Why are you in the Holy Envoy's room?" But then he thought the saintess's attendants weren't all women. Having a man was normal. Hong Feng changed his tone and answered arrogantly, "I'm the saintess's lover." Han Tianyi fell silent, his face turning deathly pale. Coming to his senses, he immediately cursed. "Are you tired of living? The saintess must remain pure. For the sake of Shen Luotian, have you lost your mind? How dare you say such things in front of the saintess? Who gave you the guts?" After cursing, he nervously looked around to see if anyone had heard. Confirming no one was around, he breathed a sigh of relief. If such words were heard by others, it would mean certain death, maybe even getting Wu Yin Cliff wiped out. He hurried toward the room, his tone both anxious and angry. "Who are you exactly?" Han Tianyi frowned as he walked, pondering. The saintess must remain chaste. If the sect finds out about this, could the lover in the room be an assassin threatening the saintess? Suddenly, he stopped, no longer advancing, and closed his eyes to cast a spell. In that instant, as his cyan spiritual light touched the door, a golden light burst from the room. "Stop!" Han Tianyi was startled and looked up. He murmured in speculation, "Is this the other's spiritual sense power? How is it so majestic? This level of power is at least the fusion stage. Shouldn't experts of this rank all be on the northern battlefield?" Thinking this, his face paled further. After a moment, Hong Feng used that golden light to give Han Tianyi a roller coaster ride, flinging him into the air with a swoosh. At that moment, only a faint purple shadow remained on his robe. Thankfully, Hong Feng finally let him land on a patch of soft grass. After surviving, Han Tianyi began to reconsider. Indeed, how could the Holy Envoy travel without a protector elder? Before he could adjust his landing posture, he suddenly saw Su Longfeng poking her head out from behind a bush to greet him. "Hey Han Tianyi, what are you doing here?" Seeing her, Han Tianyi was a bit flustered. "Elder Su, I was seeking an audience with the Holy Envoy but was refused." Han Tianyi stood up, brushed the dust off his clothes, and asked Su Longfeng, "Who is that inside?" Su Longfeng raised a finger to her lips, signaling him to be quiet, then warned him seriously, "Since you already know, you should understand what to say and what not to say." Han Tianyi immediately lowered his head, struggling to suppress his thoughts. "So this elder is opposed to my pursuit of the Holy Envoy, or does he think I'm unworthy? But my future is clearly brighter. If I offend an elder who is already deliberating..." Han Tianyi suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood and clutched his chest. Su Longfeng was startled and quickly asked, "Han Tianyi, what's wrong?" But he remained silent, simply turning and walking away without looking back. Su Longfeng clasped her hands and sighed in relief. Giving up is for the best. She returned to the courtyard where Hong Feng was temporarily staying and reported truthfully, "Lord of the manor, the location of the Nirvana Secret Realm has been confirmed." Hong Feng inside the room did not answer immediately. He had his eyes closed. After spending some time probing, a trace of unease crept into his heart. He thought to himself, "It looks a bit like a demon eye." Hong Feng turned and walked inside. The room held Yi Qing, Ling Hao, and Ji Yan. As soon as he stepped in, Ling Hao immediately said, "One gives birth to two, two gives birth to three, three gives birth to all things. There's already 14. How could there not be 114? Hong Feng asked directly. "Have you comprehended it?" "What have you comprehended?" Ling Hao turned her face away in a huff. Yi Qing beside her chuckled and said, "I'm fine." Seeing Yi Qing laughing happily, Hong Feng pulled her along. "Stop laughing. Come with me to another room." Yi Qing was seriously stating her stance to Hong Feng. "What are you trying to pick up this time? I'm telling you, don't waste your effort. No matter who you are, I will never yield." She gestured with her hands as she spoke. If your methods are only this, it's a pity. Even if you pester me for a lifetime, it's useless." Hongfeng looked her straight in the eyes, his tone confident with a hint of mockery. "Then who was it that grabbed my clothes, crying and begging for mercy before? Could it be Yi Ching?" Yi Jing immediately blushed with shame and anger, stubbornly retorting. Who grabbed your clothes, begged for mercy and cried?" Hongfeng said calmly, trying to weasel out and not admit it. "I still have solid proof here." He deliberately threatened Yi Ching. "Do you want me to open it and show you in front of Su Longfeng later? Don't worry, only you will be able to see it." She clenched her fists in anger and cursed Hongfeng, despicable, shameless, vulgar. Hongfeng leaned close to Yi Ching and whispered, "Lord of the Manor, tell me, who is it that says no with their mouth but whose body is honest?" She deliberately averted her gaze and replied, "It's of course that spineless Yi Ching. Who else did you think?" After she finished speaking, she suddenly paused. After this exchange of words, both of them were lost in their own thoughts. At this moment, Hongfeng marveled inwardly at the Lord of the Manor's talent for self-deception. Not even Yi Ching could keep up, let alone Yi Sheng. If it were Yi Sheng, Yi Ching was also immersed in her own thoughts. Why didn't I think of this before? What does Yi Sheng's embarrassment have to do with me? Thinking of this, she raised her hand to cover her mouth and laughed. "Haha, that's it. From now on, this shameless brat can't use that incident to mock me anymore. Great, couldn't be better." Hongfeng was still searching his memory when he suddenly thought, "How are the marks on this Lord of the Manor so similar to those on Shang Shushui?" So Hongfeng leaned closer to Yi Ching and whispered in her ear, "Lord of the Manor, you have skin of iron and bones of bronze. I truly didn't expect that." Yi Jing turned her head to look at him, a contemptuous sneer on her face. "Finally out of tricks, that's all you've got," going back and forth, but the next second her expression changed drastically, and she asked in shock and uncertainty, What is this?" Hongfeng answered quickly, "The heavenly bell," with a smile. Yi Jing called out nervously, "Of course I know it's a bell. I'm asking what you were just trying to do." For some reason he answered with extreme frankness and confidence, "Put it on her." Watching the bell gently swaying in Hongfeng's hand, Yi Ching's eyes widened in terror, and finally, she couldn't help but shout, "You, how dare you treat me like this? If I ever regain my freedom, I will definitely castrate you and feed you to the dogs so you can taste the humiliation I've suffered." Hongfeng remained completely composed, his expression indifferent. "It seems I need to be more careful. I absolutely cannot let the Lord of the Manor escape my grasp." He gently lifted Yi Ching's chin, a smirk curling at the corner of his mouth. "Such a strong reaction, it seems I guessed right." With every word he spoke, Yi Jing became more flustered and guilty. Yi Sheng was her real name. She only changed it later after inheriting the title of Wangchen, to set herself apart. Hongfeng's playful expression suddenly vanished, his eyes growing intensely serious. "In the half-month we've spent together day and night, I've treated everyone equally." He pressed his palm against Yi Ching's cheek as if interrogating her. "Don't you subconsciously think you're just like them?" Hongfeng leaned down slightly, noticing the tears in Yi Ching's eyes. "If not, then why are you crying out of grievance over your status as a servant?" After a moment he released his hand, but his tone remained firm, as if delivering a final warning to Yi Jing. "Lord of the Manor, don't forget, you almost killed me. I will never show you an ounce of pity." Although Yi Ching had softened, her mouth was still tough. "Who's crying? Don't flatter yourself. And don't call me Yi Sheng, I'm not that fool." Hongfeng gently put the bell on her, then cheerfully shook the small bell again. Praising Yi Ching, "That's good." He placed one hand lightly on Yi Ching's head while the other gently played with the bell. "I hope the Lord of the Manor maintains her dignity and doesn't let her subordinates hear the sound of the bell." Their conversation ended there. At this moment outside the manor, Su Longfeng was waiting quietly. Yi Ching had already changed her clothes. She sat upright on the chair, looking at Su Longfeng, who was bowing to her. "Lord of the Manor, Bamboo Blade Protector." Su Longfeng secretly appraised the person before her. The identity of the Bamboo Blade Protector was indeed extraordinary. Such a figure, second only to one person and above 10,000 others, naturally had to be flattered vigorously. Otherwise the outcome would be like that reckless Shang Tianyi just now. Her gaze slowly shifted to Hongfeng. If Shang Tianyi holds a grudge against this protector now, and if he casually says a few bad words in front of the manor lord, wouldn't that be? Su Longfeng slowly presented a wooden box and reported, "Lord of the Manor, Bamboo Protector. The location of the Nirvana Secret Realm has been found. The approximate range is on this map." Hongfeng recognized the origin of the item at a glance. It was the netherworld lock of the BALA Manor. Only those who cultivated the netherworld chi of the BALA Manor could open it, and it would self-destruct after being opened. A secret realm of the Nirvana Secret Realm's level would naturally have such strict confidentiality measures. Seeing Yi Jing change her sitting posture with exceptional gentleness each time, Hongfeng couldn't help but wonder, is the Lord of the Manor trying to avoid making the bell sound? He suddenly stepped forward, stood before Yi Jing, cupped his hands and reported, I am concerned that the Nirvana Secret Realm is too important, and it might not be convenient to speak openly for the time being," he said with a smile. "Lord of the manor, please take action yourself." Yi Jing immediately pretended to be angry and scolded, "Useless thing, do I keep you just to eat for nothing? You can't even hold a box steady, so why marry so many wives?" Hongfeng was slightly stunned and couldn't help thinking to himself, "Is the lord of the manor jealous?" He suddenly thought of a possibility. Half a month of groundwork plus this bell, Stockholm Syndrome, has finally set in. Su Longfeng, who was being scolded, was trembling with fear. "It's over. I thought the bamboo protector was different, at least having some face in front of the manor lord." Yi Jing was deeply immersed in her role, even slamming the table and standing up to curse. "You might as well get lost so you don't have to spend your life following a pig-headed fool like you." Because her voice was too loud, she subconsciously let the bell ring softly. Yi Jing immediately stopped her movement, but her body still trembled involuntarily. She walked up to Su Longfeng, quickly snatched the netherworld lock, and then continued to scold. "Useless is useless. It's only natural that you can't get things done. I'll spare your life today. Continue reporting on the current situation and the news about the Nirvana Secret Realm. Don't stop." Yi Jing walked straight inside, but still added, "The movements of the people in the manor have always been secretive, but on the way we found that others are also searching for the Nirvana Secret Realm, and their purpose seems very clear." Hongfeng watched and couldn't help but laugh out loud. Su Longfeng then reported another matter to him. "The Nirvana Secret Realm is a mix of real and fake. Following the Protector's instructions, we only found a few approximate locations, one of which is fake." Hongfeng immediately stopped smiling and asked seriously, "Have you identified their background?" Su Longfeng answered without hesitation, "Yes, the leader is from the Fusong Si Fusong Wood Spirit Clan, the little princess of the Fusong clan." Hongfeng suddenly blurted out a name, Yuan Hongli. Mentioning that pleasant name, he fell into thought. Yuan Hongli. Back then, she used her influence to come to the manor to gain experience, and coincidentally ran into the Yuan family's grandfather and grandson who had arrived earlier, also wanting to ask Shay Qian for a calligraphy piece. Su Longfeng continued, "The Protector's foresight is divine. It is indeed Yuan Hongli." She secretly admired Hongfeng. As expected of the only protector personally appointed by the manor lord, he definitely has more than one intelligence system. And he is so meticulous in his work, no wonder he has the manor lord's full authority. Hongfeng continued to ask about their cultivation levels. Su Longfeng followed his questions and added more details. On the surface, the highest is Yuan Hongli, at the peak of the void refining stage. But there is another person who seems to be using a special method to conceal their cultivation. Our scouts couldn't see through them either, but judging from Yuan Hongli's attitude towards that person, they are definitely above her. Hongfeng's expression was grave, as if he was thinking seriously. "At least the harmony stage? Can't see through." After a moment, he walked straight to the desk where the brush, ink, paper, and inkstone were already prepared. "In that case, I won't force it." After writing the necessary content, Hongfeng immediately handed the item to Su Longfeng and instructed her to send someone to deliver this letter to Yuan Hongli, telling her that if she wanted the real phoenix, she should come to Wuyin Cliff. He sat down and continued to issue orders loudly. "The manor lord is tired of staying at this Wuyin Cliff, and has been in a bad mood lately. How is the matter I asked you to handle last time, gathering the people in the manor to cooperate with the Yuxu Dao Sect?" Su Longfeng immediately reported, not daring to be negligent. "With the manor lord's token, who dares to disobey? However, a few elders seem to have some doubts." Hongfeng asked quickly and concisely. "What doubts?" Su Longfeng answered in one breath. "They said they had already received orders before, and now it suddenly changed. The BALA Manor has always adhered to the principle, wisdom lies 3,000 miles beyond BALA. Killing ends the great Tao, and the value lies in dying without regret. It is precisely because of this decisiveness that we can intimidate all the heretics and evil ways. Changing it now will waste many of the plans that were previously laid out, and will also damage the manor lord's prestige." Hongfeng fell silent in thought. Given Wang Chen's prestige in the Wangchen Manor, these elders wouldn't doubt her decision. They are probably doubting the identity of the person giving the orders. Then he spoke slowly. "Of course it's not a sudden change. The manor lord will explain it to them in person. Tell them if they don't listen, it will be a crime of betraying the manor, and there will be no mercy." Su Longfeng lowered her head and softly replied, "Yes." Hongfeng casually asked again, "Did you see Shang Tianyi just now?" Su Longfeng looked at him and said frankly, "It seems he was beaten down." Only then did Hongfeng pretend to be embarrassed and admit, "I did it." Su Longfeng was slightly stunned, but the next second she immediately bowed deeply and said loudly, "Shang Tianyi was disrespectful to the Protector. He deserved to die." Hongfeng also briefly explained the previous incident. "It wasn't disrespect to me but to the Holy Envoy, understand? He's just a waste with some background, a frog at the bottom of a well who doesn't know his place." After speaking, he praised Su Longfeng. "You are different. When I asked you to go and invite the elders to Wuyan Cliff, you did it without complaint. Your loyalty is commendable." He slowly stood up, walked calmly to her, and said flattering words. "The Manor Lord has seen your hard work and dedication over the years." Su Longfeng lowered her head and replied humbly, "This is Changfeng's duty. If the Manor Lord commands, I will go through fire and water and die without regret." Hongfeng gently stroked her head and said softly, "You have made such great contributions. How could the Manor Lord bear to let you do those things? Your role now is much greater than you imagine." His tone gradually changed, becoming deeper as if guiding her step by step. "Wuyan Cliff is just a springboard. Before leaving here, it's also doing our utmost to conveniently clean up the house for the demon sect." Upon hearing these words, Su Lanfang's eyes immediately lit up. She raised her head, her smile as bright as sunshine. "I understand." Without waiting for Hongfeng to say anything more, Su Longfeng happily skipped out. "I take my leave." Seeing her leave, Hongfeng stood still, hands clasped behind his back. He watched Su Lanfang's innocent and naive demeanor, his eyes narrowing into a smile. Greenness has its flavor, and maturity has its charm. Thinking of the beautiful woman, he couldn't help but show a smug smile. At this moment, Ling Hao lifted the curtain and walked out from inside, deliberately saying loudly, "You really dote on your girls. That Shang Tianyi, forget about seeking an audience. He didn't even get through the door before being beaten flying." Then she pressed on, "Now you even know how to eliminate the roots. What will happen if she really gets married in the future?" Ji Yan suddenly rushed out from somewhere and interrupted, "I won't get married." She shyly lightly touched Hongfeng's back, her tender little lips reciting a few lines of poetry. "Snowy mountain surge, only follow whom." Ling Hao paused and muttered softly. Hongfeng naturally understands this poem in his heart but only dares to think it. This is a love poem that came with the ring. At that time, after a moment, he slowly explained a bit. Sui Wan came. "Although you have never been in contact with her, you should know her character very well. She doesn't care about the mundane world at all and is extremely stubborn. If she wants something, she will get it by any means necessary." Ling Hao reminded him seriously, "You are the one she wants and this is her method." As she spoke, she gently touched Hongfeng's arm with her finger. Hongfeng reflexively pulled his hand back while she continued, "She wants to use a blood relationship that isn't quite blood to completely entangle you." Ji Yan gradually understood as well, using a secret method to extract essence blood to create offspring barely counting as true flesh and blood. Then she shyly said, "It's only because it's a gift." Ling Hao was startled and repeated the phrase. Before she could finish, Ling Hao turned her head to look at Hongfeng, her eyes questioning him. Hongfeng looked at Ji Yan and smiled at Chao. She grew up following Sui Wan Lai. Some perceptions are ingrained in her bones and hard to change, like this way of calling herself a gift. Ling Hao let out a soft sigh and cursed, "Enchantress, to think of such a spell." After hearing this, Hongfeng gave a bitter smile, feeling somewhat helpless inside. A fierce child. Then he looked at Ji Yan's timid appearance again and wondered in his heart, does Ji Yan think that too many will make her lose attention? Ji Yan's cute face was right in front of him, and her round big eyes made him hesitate. Hongfeng felt completely conquered by that kind of innocent fragility. Forget it, this matter can't be judged. Let it be. Opening a harem is a dangerous act anyway, and the level of danger Ji Yan brings isn't that significant. Just let her play. At that moment, Yisa Qing appeared again, dropping a scornful remark. "What a waste, can't even handle a few women." Hongfeng, confident in her upper hand, sneered back, "Lord of the mansion, do you remember how many times the bell rang just now? If not, I'll have to punish you." Yi Qing refused to back down, immediately screeching at Hongfeng for going too far. He paused, turned around, and saw that furious face. Meanwhile, Yi Qing's aura surged as she spun around, clearly ready for a fight. Quick as a flash, she grabbed her longsword and pointed it at Jiyu Hongfeng. But her body was instantly bound by chains that seemed to come from nowhere, her lips trembling. She asked in a shaky voice, "How is this possible?" The chains coiled around her delicate form, converging at a point inside the small bell. She stared in greater shock, at a loss for what to do. Hongfeng, however, laughed with delight and said, "Nothing's impossible." He stepped closer, his gaze hazy and tone teasing, "It's just the immortal binding rope. Even a waste like me doesn't care about it. How could the mighty lord of BALA Mansion be trapped for half a month? What a shame having to pretend to be helpless." Only then did Yi Jing realize she had been tricked. She lowered her head and bit her lip, thinking, "He's known all along that I could break free. I've been enduring humiliation just to find a chance to kill him." Hongfeng suddenly closed in on Yi Qing. She instinctively stepped back and he said softly, "Oh right, I forgot to mention earlier, I asked how many times the bell rang as a follow-up. Not about just now." Faced with a situation that was overwhelmingly against her, Yi Jing was momentarily dazed, stammering and unable to speak. "Your crisis isn't over yet. Yi Jing was startled again as Jian emerged from nowhere and slammed the window shut with a bang. She quickly looked up to see that Jian, who seemed so gloomy and weak, was also in on Hongfeng's scheme. Jian walked over and snatched the sword from Yi Qing's hand. Yi Qing felt like a fish caught in a net, unable to struggle, her mind in turmoil. She could only cry out, "You!" Ling Hao took out a white handkerchief and stood before Yi Qing. Seeing this, Yi Jing forgot her fear and declared confidently, "I thought you'd bring out some terrifying torture device. Water, I underestimated you. If you think this little trick will scare me, then you're dead wrong." Just then, Hongfeng let out a triumphant sinister laugh and said, "I'm not wrong, you are, Lord of the Mansion. You guessed wrong." Yi Jing seemed to grasp the meaning behind Hongfeng's smile, and in an instant her earlier confidence vanished. Now she was both ashamed and shocked, utterly flustered. Hongfeng gave her no time to react, reaching out to wrap an arm around her waist, then lifting her up and holding her securely. Yi Jing was startled and began to struggle. Unbeknownst to her, her face had turned bright red and she stared blankly at the scene before her, watching Ling Hao gently spread the white handkerchief on the bed. She felt the scene was oddly familiar, but the words stuck in her throat. Yi Qing's shoulders tensed, her nervousness and fear evident. She struggled desperately to break free from Hongfeng's embrace, shouting frantically, "No, don't." Ling Hao, standing by the bed, sneered at Yi Qing's state and taunted, "Is the Lord afraid?" Yi Jing screamed, "Demon, a woman like you must have a demon hidden in your heart, just like your sister." At that moment Ling Hao swiftly placed a mask over Yi Qing's face. Caught off guard, Yi Jing fell silent instantly. Through the mask's small holes she could see Hongfeng smiling gently at her. Then Hongfeng lightly kissed Yi Qing's lips, though the mask still separated them, so it wasn't a real touch. But even so, Yi Jing froze. Though her mouth still cried out in resistance, her dazed yet fond gaze betrayed her in that instant. Even as she cursed the damn mask in her mind, the ancient name surfaced on her lips. Just as their lips were about to meet, Yi Jing felt as if she had fallen into another space. Floating lightly, the name kept echoing in her mind. Nisheng Meisheng. Meanwhile, in another space, someone's eyes showed clear worry. It was Yuan Hongli, staring intently at something, her expression tense. Lips pressed tight, holding a copper-brown stone engraved with a few flame patterns. The stone seemed deliberately polished to be extremely round and smooth, eye-catching yet unreal. Yuan Hongli placed the stone on a piece of charred black rock and flames instantly consumed it. She said in disappointment, "Another fake." A close maid beside her spoke up, "Burning them. The 100 birds paying homage to the phoenix array left by the phoenix's nirvana has hundreds of variations. With just a fragment of the vermilion bird stone, it's hard to judge. Do we really have to test them one by one?" She looked somewhat impatient and said directly, "At this rate, not only will we waste effort, but our whereabouts will soon be exposed." Saying this, she couldn't help but lower her head in worry. "If the people of Zhangzhou discover our identity, I'm afraid," a man traveling with them also quickly advised. "Don't talk nonsense. The young clan leader has heaven's protection. We will surely find the Nirvana Secret Realm and save our Fusang clan." Even so, the maid was still uneasy, but Yuan Hongli was not angry. Instead, she nodded in agreement. He is right. "A few days ago, Uncle Bai already noticed someone following us," she said gently to everyone. "Originally, it was just a desperate attempt to ask the phoenix to save grandfather." He instinctively looked around and said in alarm, "Someone's following us?" Yuan Hongli also frankly admitted her mistake. "I was too naive. Continuing like this is futile. Let's go back." Suddenly, before they could even lift their feet, a voice came from behind that froze everyone. Turning around, they wondered why Uncle Bai had never mentioned it. It was an old man's voice. He had been waiting there, hands behind his back, calm and composed. Through the edge of his bamboo hat, his wide, scrutinizing eyes were faintly visible. If not for that, how could the tracker be lured into a trap? The guards following Yuan Hongli naturally drew their swords in unison, ready to strike at the slightest move. Yuan Bai turned his head slightly to look behind, but it seemed there was no need to lure them. A pair of long legs walked slowly, as if deliberately joining the fun. Su Langfeng appeared with a meaningful smile and said, "Of course not. I'm just here to deliver a letter." Yuan Bai clearly disliked her and asked in a deep voice, "For whom?" Su Langfeng took out a letter. "The BALA Mansion of the Extreme Eastern Sea invites the young clan leader of the Yuan family to Wuyin Cliff to discuss the true dwelling place of the phoenix." Su Langfeng was backed into a corner. Yuan Bai's master narrowed his eyes slightly and signaled to her. The paper in Su Langfeng's hand was immediately snatched away without hesitation. The letter was opened, revealing 2 paintings inside. "Is your eccentric grandfather still well?" As soon as Yuan Hongli saw the tone of the letter, the image of that young man came to mind, that brat. She said slowly to Su Langfeng, "Please tell your lord that Yuan Hongli will visit in a few days." After speaking, Yuan Hongli fell into thought. Back then he had no cultivation at all. How did he suddenly become the master of BALA Mansion? It was a bit hard to believe. She suddenly thought of that man again, and her cheeks flushed involuntarily. but someone who could earn the respect of that sage was certainly no ordinary person. The more Yuan Hongli thought about it, the more embarrassed she became. And what did that familiar tone mean? What eccentric grandfather? How could he say that? Grandfather had praised him back then. Yuan Kaiji seemed somewhat impatient. Why not take that brat as your spirit servant and deal with that Shay fellow at the same time? Yuan Hongli quickly said. Grandfather, enough. She sighed helplessly. Really, her mind was full of Hongfeng's image, and he appeared just when she needed help the most. Meanwhile at Wuyin Cliff, Yi Qing lay limply on the bed, struggling to suppress any sound. Su Longfeng dared only to report from outside the door. Protector, the young clan leader has been settled in the living room. May I ask when the Lord will see them so I can arrange the time? Yi Jing was still gritting her teeth, enduring an indescribable sense of crowding. At that moment, Hongfeng was also drenched in sweat but wore a satisfied smile. He transmitted a message to Su Longfeng. The Lord is in a bad mood. I'll handle the talks. Don't come for a few days. It's only been a few days, and Protector Ju's cultivation seems to have advanced again. How can anyone cultivate like this? Are you a monster? Su Longfeng immediately obeyed without any defiance. I take my leave. Standing in the blurry light and shadow, Hongfeng thought to himself, borrowing this yin-yang creation, I've jumped directly from the core formation stage to the nascent soul stage, crossing a major realm. If I add a strengthening card, I could reach the same level as Zui Zui, the unity stage. If not for the Yuan blood pill consuming his lifespan and damaging his foundation, the gains would have been even greater. After dressing, he looked at Yi Qing, who had fallen asleep. Hongfeng paused, gently reaching out to touch her head. A tender smile appeared on his scholarly face. Yi Jing sensed it, woke up and shouted, HMPH, you despicable scoundrel, get lost. Let me sleep, don't bother me. Hongfeng kindly reminded her, Lord of the mansion, it's time to get up. Yi Jing pulled the blanket over her head and said with a hint of coquettishness, HMPH, no, he coaxed softly. That won't do. How can the Lord of BALA Mansion be a lazy bones? Hongfeng mischievously reached under the blanket, groping for something. Feeling his movement, Yi Jing sat up abruptly and cursed, I want to sleep. Who are you to say no? Her reaction was too strong, accidentally revealing a patch of fair skin. Yan Hongfeng was momentarily dazed. Qing slowly realized her current state with only a blanket covering her soft body. At that moment she could only scream, despicable, shameless, don't you dare disgust me. I'll kill you sooner or later. Hongfeng's expression suddenly turned fierce, his voice low as if whispering in her ear. It seems the Lord remembers. Yi Jing asked fiercely. Remember what? His eyes darkened. The more you curse, the more excited I get. Yi Jing immediately averted her gaze from that lecherous look. Pervert. Hongfeng slowly stood up, but his eyes never left Yi Jing. He continued, Lord of the mansion. Then he gently pressed a kiss on her forehead, carefully tucked her in and said to Yi Qing, sleep. Yi Jing, embarrassed, quickly wrapped the entire blanket tightly around herself, covering herself from head to toe, while Hongfeng burst into laughter. Ha ha ha. With a mix of emotions, Yi Jing raised her hand and gently grasped the small bell. She couldn't help but think he carved this himself. It was for Wangchen, not for Meisheng. The thought barely crossed her mind before she extinguished it. Peeved, he's just a vicious scoundrel. Why pretend to be gentle? Does he think I'll be moved by something like this? She rolled around under the blanket in anger. Hum. Just as Hongfeng returned to his room, he saw a small figure. Just, Jian stammered. Jun Zan. Hongfeng smiled and sat down beside her. Jian suddenly lunged and kissed his cheek. I like you. Hongfeng's eyes immediately crinkled with laughter. I like Jian too very much. But Jian suddenly pushed him away, hands on her hips, and shouted, You haven't told me yet. Besides hugging and kissing, what else is there? Play with me next time. Hongfeng was startled, thinking she still remembered that. He coaxed her, promising to pinky swear next time. Jian, satisfied, skipped out shouting, Clean up. Hongfeng sighed softly. Having a little maid is really convenient. He suddenly froze and turned around. Did you hear all that? Ling Hao replied calmly. I heard, the mighty lord of Wangchen cursing and crying while trying not to make a sound, afraid her subordinates would hear. Truly, a childhood trauma. Hongfeng coughed awkwardly. Ahem, let's focus on business. Yuan Hongli has already arrived at Wuyin Cliff. The people from BALA Mansion will be here soon. Yuxu is under siege by the 7 major sects and will surely seek help from BALA Mansion. In my view, they're mostly trying to pin all the blame on BALA Mansion. But who knows? Now even the life of the BALA Mansion's lord is in our hands. Ling Hao asked, What do you plan to do? They moved to the outer living room where hot tea had already been poured. Hongfeng sat opposite Ling Hao. If they seek cooperation with BALA Mansion, it'll be risky. His tone was serious and steady, completely different from when he faced Yi Qing. Fortune favors the bold. If there's a chance to wipe out Yuxu Dao Sect in one go, why keep those broken rules? Ling Hao looked at him and suddenly remarked, I think you're more suited to be a cult leader. Hongfeng was taken aback. He felt a bit awkward, thinking he had accidentally spoken his mind. The atmosphere between them stiffened for a moment due to his embarrassment. But Ling Hao continued, breaking the silence. She picked up her teacup and said, So, are you planning to refine the arrangements you discussed with Su Longfeng, make BALA Mansion change its mind and unite the alliance? Wipe them out in one go. After speaking, she took a sip of tea and looked at Hongfeng with some doubt. After hearing this, Hongfeng couldn't help but marvel. Wow, she says I'm suited to be a cult leader, but she'd fit right into a cult too. He didn't know how to respond and could only take a big gulp from his cup. But Ling Hao interpreted this gesture differently. Being able to discuss purging Yuxu Dao Sect so calmly, he was truly born in the wrong place. If he were in the demon sect, maybe Fairy Ling Hao could rise through the ranks too. After a moment, Hongfeng crossed his arms. With a calm expression, he continued the previous topic. But BALA Mansion was doomed from the start. It won't succeed. Saying this, Hongfeng raised an eyebrow slightly, showing a hint of pride. Because at that time someone will be framed by the despicable third prince, forced into exile, fall into an abyss midway, receive the inheritance of Zhu Zhangzi, return bathed in blood to clear her name. She will sweep away BALA Mansion's schemes with a single sword, save Yuxu in crisis and topple the entire edifice. Ling Hao was puzzled. We, Hongfeng answered briefly. No then, he emphasized. She. Ling Hao was startled. He was clearly talking about himself. Me. Hongfeng suddenly reached out and covered her hand. A cyan light flashed between their palms, and in an instant the two sank into another space. Time passed slowly. Ling Hao suddenly trembled slightly, cold sweat beading on her forehead, a look of discomfort on her face. Subconsciously she leaned into Hongfeng's arms, unaware of her own actions. Eventually, Ling Hao gradually regained her senses, still forcing herself to ask, "What about you?" Hongfeng gently wrapped his arm around Ling Hao's back and said in a low voice, "I was the demon cultivator you killed with your own hands. I failed to charm you and was instead crushed to bone fragments. Not even a corpse remains. No one can find me." As he spoke, he tightly embraced Ling Hao's shoulders. At this moment the two looked like a pair of lovers. Only like this could he fully conceal the demonic aura on him. The principle of Tao and demon coexisting has never been wrong in this world. Before, it was impossible for you to keep me in the Yuxu Dao Sect under the guise of research. Once exposed, you'd be implicated too. After hearing this, Ling Hao suggested, "From now on you can no longer act under the identity of Zhangfeng or Hongfeng." Hongfeng nodded curtly in response, then looked up ahead and smiled. "It's fine. Once this is over, I'll go to the northern prefecture. Up in the northern barbarian lands, no one cares what my true identity is. The sky is vast for birds to fly, the sea is wide for fish to leap. Whether it's collecting the golden crow's true young from the extreme cold of the northern dark sea, entering the desert nether sea dungeon to seize his real weapon, or the shifts in the northern prefecture's situation on the main battlefield of the righteous evil war, I'll just go. The northern prefecture is the natural choice. In a few days it'll be the decisive battle between Piwanluo and Shen Siphon. I just hope those two don't end up killing each other." By now, Ling Hao had fully and comfortably leaned into Hongfeng's embrace. It was entirely voluntary, while Hongfeng was still deep in thought. Of course, compared to the fast-forwarded timeline in the game, I still have plenty of time to prepare now, and many places I want to go. Either way, staying in the Central Plains is impossible. Ling Hao felt a headache coming on again, truly worthy of Senior Zhou Zhangzi. This Yuxu Dao treasury is indeed magnificent in spirit. She showed concern. But even someone like him couldn't escape life and death in the end. Hongfeng comforted her gently. "You want to surpass heaven?" What Senior sought was to achieve his heart's desire. If he hadn't chosen to actively suppress the 8-armed heavenly demon back then, maybe he'd still be the glorious leader of Yuxu today, but that would have gone against his own will. Hongfeng's words seemed to have a magical quality, captivating Ling Hao as she listened. That was his own choice. Besides, there are beings like the phoenix in this world, undying, transcending the cycle of life and death. Ling Hao was a bit annoyed and scolded lightly. "I'm not a child, no need for you to coax me." Hongfeng raised an eyebrow and looked down. "True, what child has that?" His somewhat improper gaze lingered on the curve of Ling Hao's chest. Ling Hao immediately reached out and pinched him, and Hongfeng yelped in pain. "Ouch, ouch, ouch, stop pinching," he groaned inwardly. At this rate his waist would be ruined. Seeing Hongfeng's pitiful look, Ling Hao covered her mouth with a chuckle and gently rubbed his waist. "I know you're well aware of the location of the Nirvana Secret Realm, but now isn't the time. The phoenix only undergoes nirvana once every 1,000 years. Even if the phoenix has awakened, it can't get out. How do you plan to get the phoenix blood?" Hongfeng replied calmly. "If the mountain won't come to me, I'll go to the mountain," Ling Hao exclaimed in surprise. "You're going into the Nirvana Secret Realm," Hongfeng said solemnly. "Now this is the only way. I have the fire-avoiding pearl plus my cultivation at the integration stage. The Nirvana Secret Realm isn't a certain death trap for me either. I'm very familiar with this Nirvana Secret Realm dungeon. It's mainly an event dungeon. Once the phoenix awakens and emerges, it will cease to exist. Afterwards, it'll become a fixed scene, a scenic spot for photos. The flames permeating the Nirvana Secret Realm are no ordinary fire. Besides, if that phoenix sees you as an intruder, the fire-avoiding pearl will be useless. And although the phoenix is the leader of the four symbols, I've heard its temper is anything but gentle. Ling Hao was not usually an indecisive person, yet now she was worrying so meticulously. Truly rare. That phoenix is also female. Have you even made a move on the phoenix? Ah well, not just the phoenix. I've wanted the dragon too. I guess I was overthinking. I thought you were about to charge into a dragon's den or tiger's lair, but it turns out you're just going to see an old flame. The phoenix only undergoes nirvana once every 1,000 years. How could Lu Junquan possibly be lovers with the phoenix? What exactly is your identity? Regardless of old or new, my mark is always unique. Nonsense. Forget it. Let's set the Nirvana Secret Realm aside for now. When did you meet that young chieftainess, the little princess of the Fusang clan? It wasn't me who went after her. I only met her once, back then at the Red Feather Manor. Yuan Hongli and her grandfather went to a squire's mansion to seek a calligraphy scroll. Even now I haven't truly confirmed his identity. That Xie Qian, he's most likely the legendary sage at the time. I also had urgent business, so I made a deal with him. That old man Xie Qian is strange. He claims to live in seclusion. Yet he can't stand loneliness even after 1,000 years. While living in seclusion, he still can't bear the solitude. Isn't he just a Sunere old man? That squire's surname is Xie, right? Hit the nail on the head. It seems Xie Qian's reputation is indeed immense, and everyone knows he's long been in seclusion. What a Sunere. That calligraphy scroll has the effect of repairing the Soul Palace. The Fusang clan's chieftain is Yuan Kaiji, and they came specifically for this matter. I heard he was an old classmate of that squire surnamed Xie. It's not surprising he could find him, and even Ling Hao holds him in such high regard. Combined with the information I received earlier, who else could it be but the sage? So I really did draw an SSR beyond my expectations. If I had known, I would have grabbed a few volumes of experience books while at the Xie residence. What a waste of a treasure. If the Soul Palace is damaged, cultivation regresses, or even forced to reshape the body, that would be perfectly reasonable. Junquan has been tight-lipped about this matter, and back then he also went to seek the calligraphy scroll. His situation over the past few years must have been worse than I imagined. Don't talk about those things. That person's affairs are too far from us. Actually, that person is quite amiable. On ordinary days he writes and paints, hanging them all over the pavilions, waiting for people to come and ask, yet deliberately refusing to give them. To people he dislikes he speaks harshly, every word making them gnash their teeth. He doesn't receive guests on normal days. If someone comes to visit, he has the guards say no one's home, making sure the visitor hears it from outside the door. From what you're saying, it does seem a bit excessive. Hong Feng's tone wasn't like he was talking about some senior figure, but rather like recounting an acquaintance from daily life. All right, you're right. There's still the matter at hand. Let's go. Let's go meet this young chieftainess together and see why she's looking for the Nirvana Secret Realm. The scene shifts to a heavily guarded small courtyard, with two servants keeping a strict watch. Inside the room, Yuan Hongli was listlessly sipping tea, when she suddenly glanced toward the window. Just then her maid started complaining. I'm so bored. The young girl turned back and asked, Sister Chieftainess, is that person really that amazing? Yuan Hongli replied with a smile. Not only amazing but also a very good person, the maid suddenly exclaimed. Sister Chieftainess, you're blushing. Yuan Hongli shyly turned her head away. No, I'm not. She deliberately put on an angry look. How dare you tease me? When we get back this time, I'll ground you for a year. The young girl was so frightened she immediately begged for mercy. Sister Hongli, please don't. I hate being grounded the most. Yuan Hongli pinched her cheek and refused with a stern face. No, you always used to get away with acting cute and playing dumb. This time I have to teach you a lesson. No respect for your elders. The young girl covered her face in grievance. Sister Hongli always bullies kids like me. I'm going to go tell brother-in-law. Yuan Hongli was startled. What brother-in-law? The young girl smirked slyly. Whoever used a single piece of paper to summon you here, that's who. Yuan Hongli stammered awkwardly in explanation. He has done our clan a great favor. The green tiles and flying eaves caught the sunlight. White walls reflected the wooden windows. Light filtered through the gaps in the leaves, and it was eerily quiet, reminiscent of old village scenery. The young girl's face was cold, her gaze sharp, and she spoke with impatience. Just a benefactor. Yuan Hongli frowned slightly, her cheeks flushed, her eyes flustered, but she still maintained a bit of dignity as she said, I told you, just a benefactor. A group of disciples in blue robes, bruised and battered with worried expressions, shuffled timidly into the room. Two masters also appeared, one young and stern, the other older and composed. Wearing a wide-brimmed hat, Yuan Bai gave the order in a cold voice, his gaze icy. You may withdraw. At the sound of his voice, everyone immediately dared not disobey. Tong Qing replied, Yes. A seductive woman appeared, pushing the door open and entering. Her aura was alluring, mysterious, and powerful. Seeing someone enter from outside, the three turned to look. The atmosphere was taut as a bowstring. They remained seated, sizing up the newcomer with scrutinizing eyes. Su Longfeng walked in lightly, his demeanor calm, his gaze gentle yet imposing, and then he spoke, "Guardian, please." Yuan Hongli was sitting inside, her long hair loose. When she saw the newcomer, her eyes trembled slightly. She bit her lip lightly, and a flicker of panic crossed her expression. Moments later, Hongfeng walked in, his gaze steady, a faint smile on his lips. The two entered the room calmly but immediately drew everyone's attention. Hongfeng's expression was serene, as if lost in thought. Yuan Hongli looked at him thoughtfully, a contemplative look on her face, and spoke, "It's only been 4 months since we parted, yet seeing the young chieftainess of the Fusong clan again feels like a lifetime." Hongfeng was surrounded by many beauties in ancient costumes, those girls either close to him or admiring him, the atmosphere ambiguous, seemingly entangled with romantic intent. To build a harem, one must first have enough strength and power to protect them. One must rely on one's own power to give them support, not be a kept man. Only to find oneself powerless when one's woman is in trouble. At this thought, Hongfeng suddenly paused, his breath catching for a moment. His expression remained unchanged, but his eyes trembled slightly, as if doused with a bucket of cold water. A swirling vortex of energy, brilliant as cyan jade, spun incessantly, like a focal point of energy, radiating violently outward. His primordial spirit had solidified a bit more. Those things were shrouded in an eerie blue light, looking mysterious and demonic. After completing his cultivation, the abundant essence that had yet to be consolidated was still being generated but had already been absorbed cleanly, instantly breaking through to the second layer of the nascent soul stage. Hongfeng raised his hand to wipe the fine sweat from his forehead, his voice dropping a few notes. Is this the legendary state of enlightenment? Unbeknownst to him, the air around Hongfeng seemed to solidify. A faint heat rising and sporadic flames began to burst from the ground as if under his control. Sulan's face stiffened a few more degrees. She spoke, This is a breakthrough." The flames before her continued to rise. Hongfeng stepped forward without a word, breaking through a minor realm just by crossing a threshold. She had never heard of such a thing. It was utterly unprecedented. After a moment she mused to herself, with such talent, such boldness, could the current prefect be grooming him? When the surrounding flames gradually dissipated with time, she finally asked, "Guardian, are you all right?" Hongfeng, upon hearing this, looked indifferent, as if nothing had happened, and said flatly, "I'm fine, just had a sudden breakthrough." On the other side, someone stirred after hearing this, unable to help but mutter under their breath, "Sudden, as if I'd believe that." Yuan Bai shot him a dark glance. This person had likely deliberately suppressed the final step before the breakthrough, waiting until now to release it, all to intimidate us. His scheming is indeed deep. The old man glanced at Su Longfeng again, thinking to himself, even this subordinate's cultivation is higher than his. Only some other connection could drive such a person. Now it seems this Su Longfeng is far from half-hearted. It's a case of killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Maybe even more than a third goal. With that thought, he cast a dark look at Yuan Hongli's beaming face. Li Hongfeng approached her. "Miss Yuan, long time no see." Yuan Hongli bowed slightly. Long time no see." Yuan Hongli's mind raced. "Miss Yuan, not chieftainess, nor a more intimate address. That's fine, it actually proves he's not the type to be a kept man." That man who wasn't a kept man was currently smiling brightly, looking at the two with a mix of hope and disappointment. "Damn it, I was worried the chieftainess might be deceived, but it seems he only appreciates her. With no romantic feelings at all. It's the chieftainess who's pining," he shouted loudly. "Sister Hongli, you're ignoring me again. I just said I was going to tell brother-in-law, and here he is." Hongfeng's eyes went wide in shock. "Ha!" Just then, Ling Hao walked in from outside and coldly asked, "Brother-in-law?" She cast a gentle glance back at Hongfeng. Hongfeng quickly played dumb. "Brother-in-law," Ling Hao thought to herself. No wonder he called her Miss Chieftainess directly. So it's that kind of relationship, but with a saint envoy backing her, why would she care so much about the guardian's personal affairs? Yuan Hongli, embarrassed, ran over to pull her maid. He, don't talk nonsense. Guardian and I are just ordinary friends. He slipped away and hid behind the elder, explaining loudly. But you've even exchanged tokens of love. How can you be just ordinary friends? Yuan Hongli's heart skipped a beat. Ling Hao frowned deeply and glared coldly at Hongfeng while Hongfeng was on the verge of tears, frantically trying to recall. Wait, when did we exchange tokens of love? Back then we only exchanged the golden crow, true yang, and the scepter. How did that become a token of love? A chill ran down Hongfeng's spine. He thought, this is no time for jokes. He forced a smile onto his face. Little girl, since you say that, the one I exchanged with was clearly Yuan Kaiji, wasn't it? Are you saying your chieftain and I have a secret affair? The group of elders stood frozen as if struck by lightning. He dared to address the chieftain by his given name. Yuan Hongli worried inwardly. Has he's words angered him? Hongfeng suddenly waved his hand. All right, I didn't come here to catch up. I want to know the whereabouts of the true phoenix. Answer a few of my questions first. Yuan Bai's expression was stern, as if scrutinizing something. May I ask what those questions are? Hong Feng sat on the old chair confronting Yuan Bai tit for tat, yet his expression remained as calm as ever. How can you guarantee that the address you know for the true phoenix is real? Is that really the genuine phoenix there? He narrowed his eyes slightly, his demeanor leisurely and composed, and said faintly, That's how it should be, isn't it? Hong Feng, with white hair and red eyes, turned slightly to the right, a faint smile tugging at the corner of his mouth. He raised his right index finger as if emphasizing a key point. With a calm expression he said, What I want to ask is simple. First, why are you looking for the phoenix? He raised his hand and pointed around in a circle, then continued confidently. Second, what do you plan to do once you find the phoenix? The three of them had different expressions, some serious, some contemplative, all digesting his words. Hong Feng continued, Third, what is the current situation in Fusong Sea? Hong Feng crossed his arms, standing straight, his eyes no longer calm, only filled with a chilling seriousness that dared not be met. As for how I can guarantee that the Nirvana Secret Realm is real, I won't hide it from you. In this tense atmosphere, another gentle voice softly interjected. The woman frowned slightly, as if lost in her thoughts, and after a moment spoke. Due to certain reasons, I've consumed a great deal of my lifespan. I don't have long to live. If I can't find phoenix blood, I'll age and die soon. Upon hearing this, Yuan Hongli couldn't help but break out in a cold sweat and stammered. How could this be? Yuan Bai said uneasily. I see, you need phoenix blood even more than we do. Of course you wouldn't try to fool us with fakes. Then Yuan Bai spoke more clearly, enough to make the three present perk up. Su Longfeng remained stone-faced, slightly suppressing his emotions like someone staying alert under tension. Yuan Bai straightened up, leaning against the wall, shrugged and spoke in a low voice that was still audible to all. I think I understand. You want to learn about the current state of Fusong Sea through us, and that's the price we have to pay. The old man fell into a long contemplation again. Letting someone from the Central Plains know the current state of Fusong Sea was inherently dangerous, but things had come to this and they had no other choice. His eyes seemed to hold many different meanings. It appeared dry. As for the reason we're seeking phoenix blood, Hong Feng also smiled faintly and said, I see. Seeing this, Yuan Bai spoke again. Aren't you afraid we'll force you to hand over the phoenix blood? This time his tone was noticeably heavier and more sinister. You're only at the nascent soul stage. If you leave now within 3 steps, the old man quickly continued. If I wanted to, even the one behind you might not be able to stop me. Hong Feng interjected. You won't do that. Yuan Kaiji is cold on the outside but warm on the inside, and Miss Yuan is not soft on the outside but firm within. You are all sincere and honest people. After saying this, he lowered his head slightly, his gaze dropping a bit, a hint of thought and undeniable heaviness on his face. You have them guarding you, so of course you're not the kind of person who would stoop to any means. Besides, Mr. Yuan is mistaken. Yuan Bai's face was covered with aged wrinkles, and he retorted, Mistaken about what? Yuan Bai's eyes seemed to explode with countless lines as he stared intently at Hong Feng, who was enveloped along with his spell in a mysterious deep blue light. Yuan Bai was at the 7th layer of the integration stage. Hong Feng raised his hand to his face and said calmly, I am a timid person. Without strength I wouldn't dare sit before you all like this. Yuan Bai was startled by this, and stared hard at Hong Feng. Hong Feng met his gaze and gave a meaningful smile. Yuan Bai nodded and said, I see, now I understand why my father thinks so highly of you. Hong Feng replied calmly, It's just a matter of convenience. If we're talking about true regard, the root isn't with me. Yuan Bai turned to Yuan Hongli. If it weren't for that, if he didn't value you so much, even out of respect for that person, my father wouldn't have thought of pairing you with Yuan Hongli. Yuan Hongli exclaimed in panic, Uncle Bai. She stole a glance at Hong Feng, and seeing him looking at her, she immediately turned her head away in embarrassment. Hong Feng cursed inwardly. Damn it, so it was old man Yuan Kaiji pulling the strings. I was wondering why I had such absurd thoughts after only meeting her twice. Yuan Bai gave a dry laugh. Just a joke, but since we reunited these past few months, she has mentioned you more than once in front of us. Now that we've met, she clearly has a special fondness for you. Hong Feng raised an eyebrow and looked at Ling Hao. See, I wasn't lying, it's not me who provoked her. But the harmful concept of arranged marriages by feudal parents. Ling Hao lowered her eyes. Steady your mind, just refuse her then. Hong Feng said with difficulty, Since Chinger says so, I'll listen of course, but Yuan Hongli is the young chieftain of the Fusong clan. Not giving her face now would be ungrateful. If we end up enemies with Fusong and can never go to Fusong Sea again, at least I can't refuse her publicly. Ling Hao couldn't help but roll her eyes at him. It seems I was wrong last time, or rather Brother Zhang Feng's face is incredibly thick. She pinched Hong Feng's hand. It was thick and hard, thicker than continental crust. Lu Chang might even be able to make armor out of it. Hong Feng put on a fawning smile. Lady Ling Zhao's delicate hands are so soft and fragrant with icy skin and jade bones, they feel wonderful to touch. Hong Feng curled his lips and replied, Senior Yuan flatters me. Although there are parental orders and matchmaker's words, I respect Miss Yuan's wishes more, Yuan Hongli exclaimed in surprise. Ah, she lowered her head in shame. Yuan Bai changed the subject. The Nirvana Secret Realm is extremely dangerous. Although I don't know what skills you have, it's best not to take the risk yourself. You are already the protector of that mansion lord. After much thought, it's safer to send someone to scout first. Hong Feng said loudly, The phoenix is a descendant of the four symbols Vermilion Bird, proud in nature, although I can't tell you the reason I dare say this. Apart from me, anyone who steps into the Nirvana Secret Realm now will only be burned to death. Since you all told me about Fusong Si, I will naturally share a portion of phoenix blood with you. Don't worry too much, Yuan Bai, reassured, said. In that case, let Hongli tell you about Fusong Si in the next few days. She has been with my father the longest and knows more than I do. Yuan Hongli blushed deeply, her face full of shyness. After a while, Hong Feng and his two companions left Yuan Hongli's courtyard. Hong Feng suddenly stopped and said, You should know what to say and what not to say. Su Langfeng obediently lowered his head. Of course, now that Langfeng has this position, I will follow the protector's orders and never betray his trust. Hong Feng asked coldly, Have the elders arrived? Su Langfeng replied succinctly, They have, and everything is ready, awaiting the mansion lord's summons. Hong Feng smiled in satisfaction and thought excitedly, Good, then I'll go meet those heretics. By now, everyone had gathered, each wearing bizarre masks. Footsteps echoed as Mansion Lord Yi Qing strode in. Those people immediately bowed respectfully and said in unison, Welcome, Mansion Lord. Yi Qing, in her dark green robe and mask, walked forward, thinking to herself, This operation probably isn't the Mansion Lord's first test of them. Promoting that Su Langfeng is also a change of the old for the new. Could it be that this time a complete overhaul is planned? Then Yi Qing sat cross-legged on a chair and commanded, Sit down, no need for formalities. The three of them, upon hearing her sharp voice, were immediately flustered. Then they looked at Su Langfeng and thought to themselves, This must be the recently promoted envoy, Su Langfeng. They then looked at Hong Feng and continued thinking, This man is plainly dressed and ordinary looking, but with white hair and a cultivation level, at least at the nascent soul stage, and his demeanor is intimate with the mansion lord. One of them broke out in a cold sweat and cautiously speculated, This person is probably the suddenly appeared bamboo man protector who has gathered a vast number of rare treasures. Yi Jing showed displeasure and sighed inwardly. This broken chair is really uncomfortable. Those people, seeing her expression, were too scared to speak. Meanwhile, she suppressed her inner anger and asked in a deep voice, I hear some of you are dissatisfied with my orders. At that moment, the three of them simultaneously clutched their chests and fell to their knees, their faces full of pain. Yi Qing glared and scolded, Worthless, a bunch of worthless trash. Yuxu Dao Sect used BALA Mansion as a bargaining chip, and you hurriedly delivered the goods. The others struggled to get up, but their bodies still trembled uncontrollably. Then she raised her hand and pointed directly at the three, tilting her head slightly and gritting her teeth. If Kai Chanchu fails this time, the blame for harming Ling Hao will all fall on us. These righteous sects are all the same. Does my BALA Mansion only deserve to be cowered in this eastern corner of the sea? As soon as she finished speaking, Yi Jing suddenly clenched her fist and those people fell to the ground again. The others were somewhat frightened, but she continued to scold, Don't think I don't know how many benefits you've taken from Kai Chanchu. Do you really think I can't cooperate with Yuxu Dao, fools? Then Yi Jing abruptly stood up, strode forward and commanded sternly, Listen up, this time I want Yuxu Dao Sect to reap the consequences of its own internal strife. She swept her murderous gaze over the others and said decisively, Just in time, the Northern Mansion Demon Sect is at war with the major powers. My BALA Mansion will charge straight into the Central Plains, starting with Yuxu Dao Sect to crush the righteous path. Upon hearing this, everyone immediately replied in unison, Yes. The scene shifted to another place where two figures were reflected on the ground. Hong Feng gently touched the bell on Yi Qing's neck and asked softly, Why is the mansion lord walking so slowly at this hour? She sat steadily on his lap, crossing her arms, her tone full of grievance. You know why. Suddenly, Yi Jing reached out and hugged Hong Feng's neck, startling him slightly. She narrowed her eyes, blushed and said coquettishly, Carry me up, what are you waiting for? Hong Feng didn't refuse, just smiled and went along with her. Carrying you is fine, but wait. Yi Qing was a bit confused by this and blushed even more. Then Hong Feng suddenly pounced on her, startling her, and the two of them fell backward together. The scene then shifted to Wuyan Nunnery. Yi Qing, wrapped only in a piece of cloth, kept shouting loudly, Bastard, you're not human. I'll kill you sooner or later. Hong Feng just raised his hand to brush across his nose, then glanced back and chuckled to himself. The mansion lord is already sinking, and she's still cursing him out of excessive shame from what just happened. Meanwhile, Ling Hao walked in and looked at Hong Feng, asking with a light laugh and a puzzled tone, What's so funny that you're smiling so happily? Hong Feng quickly coughed twice to suppress his embarrassment, put on a straight face and replied, "The BALA mansion side is stable. They'll handle the rest for us." At the same time, Hong Feng frowned, glanced sideways at Ling Hao and continued, "Whether it's sowing discord among the Kangming Three Halls to make them collapse from within or cutting off their cooperation, the truth of this matter will eventually come to light. We just need to wait. When Yuxu is in a panic, that's when you make your move," Ling Hao said calmly. "I understand." She turned to straighten Hong Feng's collar and said, "So are you going to the Nirvana Secret Realm next?" Hong Feng nodded. "I will indeed go to the Nirvana Secret Realm in a few days, but only Ying and Wang Chen will set up a fake phoenix trap for me to cover the commotion at the real entrance." Ling Hao suddenly hugged him tightly. I'll wait for you here." The scene shifted to Yuxu. Two old men were walking and chatting. That child named Jiyu Chang was entrusted to enter Yuxu Mountain Gate by an old acquaintance of Ling Yu, previously because the former sect leader of this sect once taught the cultivation techniques of Yuxu Dao Sect. He has a karmic connection with Yuxu, old Chen asked curiously. "Where is that child now?" The Yuxu elder was momentarily at a loss for words. Suddenly Ling Yu ran over from somewhere and shouted, "You can't take people away." Old Chen turned back and demanded, "Why not?" Ling Yu quickly replied, It's an agreement. I've already promised someone." Upon hearing this, old Chen turned and walked forward. "I'm just going to ask the young lady herself. If she disagrees, I won't force her," the Yuxu elder thought indignantly. "As if I'd believe that. Once you see her, you'll definitely throw out every benefit you can to trick her into coming with you first. These ancient monsters who have lived for who knows how long have no idea how thick their faces can get." In the small courtyard, Jiyu Chang was diligently practicing swordsmanship. Old Chen approached and immediately exclaimed, "Aha, young people these days are really—" Jiyu Chang was startled by him and immediately turned to look. The Yuxu elder stepped forward and whispered a few words to her. After a moment, Jiyu Chang looked around and thought to herself, "Zhanhai Tower? Isn't that the place where Master used to deceive the various madams? With Zhanhai Tower, plus a bunch of heavenly treasures and peerless techniques, the allure is considerable. But I've already promised Senior Ding Huan. I absolutely cannot break my word." Meanwhile, Jiyu Chang slightly lowered her head and reported, "I'm sorry, Senior. I still want to stay at Yuxu Dao Sect." Old Chen was a bit surprised and let out an, "Oh." Seeing his expression, the Yuxu elder immediately felt a bit panicked, thinking, is he going to get angry? But old Chen suddenly burst into laughter. "Haha, it seems you truly have a connection with Yuxu. A character like yours won't be buried." Then he extended his hand and a wisp of blue-green light appeared in his palm and he continued, "I have a sword here. I'll give it to you as encouragement." Instantly, a long sword materialized behind the blue smoke. The old man continued, "This sword is called Qingqian. The Great Way is like the blue sky, forged through toil." Jiyu Kong also reached out to take it, her expression shocked as she examined it repeatedly. Seeing this, the Yuxu elder couldn't help but wonder. He was so stubborn just now and suddenly he had a change of heart. Old Chen seemed to hear his thoughts and immediately turned back to say, "Elder Shang'e, I was supposed to leave a few days ago." The Yuxu elder was startled and thought in panic, is he still angry? Then the old man slightly lowered his eyes and said bluntly, "Don't worry, I'll leave in at most 3 days." The Yuxu elder was taken aback and asked, "Where is the envoy going?" Old Chen revealed a gentle smile and replied, "Qiyu Manor." The scene shifted to Wanjian City, where a hand was on the door pushing it open. Inside the room, Jing Lingjun and Zhuizhuwei were playing happily. She kept fiddling with the cat toy in her hand and asked, "Senior, we've practiced over 100 times. Do we need to continue?" Zhuizhuwei, in cat form, panted and replied, "Over 100 times already." "Almost there, just 100 more practices and you'll have it down." Lingjun was somewhat puzzled. "Did Zhang Feng really enjoy this that much?" She answered confidently, "Of course he does." Meanwhile, Zhuizhuwei, recalling Hong Feng's terrifying demeanor, couldn't help but tear up as she complained, "Think about it, how could a cat like me, who's nothing but cute, survive so well under that kind of demon lord?" She kept going as if boasting about her achievements. "He even massaged my shoulders and legs." Lingjun listened with envy, then suddenly gasped, "Demon lord." Lingjun furrowed her brow slightly and shot Zhuizhuwei a helpless glance, thinking to herself, "Wait, this cat is nothing but cute. You're clearly a terrifying monster who devours people without a trace." She quickly turned her head, squinting with certainty, and said, "Right, he's terrifying." Zhuizhuwei continued, "Back then, just after I was released, he caught me off guard, tricked me into signing a soul contract and forced me into this form, threatening to kill me otherwise." She then looked up at the sky with a sigh. "Do you think I wanted this? I was once a majestic red cloud-scaled flood dragon, and now I'm a pet." Hearing this, Lingzhen's expression grew even more conflicted, thinking, "No, you were totally willing and even enjoyed it." She stepped forward determined and said, "Then Senior Zhuizhuwei, let's continue training." Lingjun added, although Zhang Feng is wicked and scary, he's still warm to his own people. Zhuizhui frowned slightly in response. Of course, he's so selfish that he'll take good care of what's his, so you have to work hard to make him like you, or you'll be treated badly. With that, both of them exuded a surge of determination. Yeah. Duan Lanruo, overhearing this from outside, covered her mouth with a light laugh. Lingjun seemed to hear her and turned to look. Seeing Duan Lanruo at the door, she exclaimed, City Lord, you're here? She immediately ran over to Duan Lanruo. Duan Lanruo gently patted her shoulder and said softly, I came to check on you. How's your recovery? Almost healed. Zhang Feng told us to leave early so the injuries aren't serious. Lingjun blushed as Duan Lanruo lightly ruffled her hair, thinking, the City Lord really has an irresistible maternal glow. Seeing this gentle demeanor, she fell into thought again. The rumors she'd heard about Zhang Feng in the City Lord's mansion these past few days were even more fascinating than she'd imagined. Duan Lanruo looked down at her tenderly and said, Good, I just received something from BALA Mansion. Lingjun looked up puzzled. BALA Mansion, Duan Lanruo explained, it was delivered by someone called Bamboo Guardian, but inside its, Lingjun broke into a cold sweat as she looked at the contents, thinking, he became a guardian of BALA Mansion? Still unable to believe it. She followed that train of thought. This guy really knows how to climb the ranks, being a guardian of BALA Mansion while freely coming and going from the demon sect's branch. Duan Lanruo picked up the letter, glanced at it, and sighed, what a worrywart. Lingjun looked up curiously, and City Lord Duan said, How are things now? She quickly folded the letter and said softly, Nothing much. He sent a letter to say he's safe and told us to keep up the pressure here. He's already prepared a big show, just waiting for those sanctimonious folks from Yuxu Dao Sect to panic. I'm not talking about those respectable seniors, nor about sweet kids like little Lingjun. Lingjun immediately waved her hands awkwardly. No, Lingjun understands what you mean, City Lord. This time their hallmaster really went too far. She lowered her head, eyes reddening, even trying to harm senior sister and the others. It's really. Meanwhile, Duan Lanruo snapped her fingers and a figure appeared from nowhere. She handed the letter to them, instructing, Send this to Shueui Dock and Ziyu Manor. The person immediately acknowledged and vanished. Duan Lanruo then gently smoothed her hair and smiled. Jun Zan is going to the Nirvana Secret Realm to find Phoenix blood for healing. All we can do now is help him as much as we can. Patience is the duty of those in the inner quarters. Managing household affairs is enough. If you rush to take on the hard work and toil before others, you'd disgrace your husband's family. Suddenly, she turned to Lingjun and said, Speaking of which, how did your eldest miss meet Jun Zan? He was willing to risk his life to break into danger for her, and even planned to defend the city and protect the sect. Lingjun was stunned and asked, Who? Duan Lanruo didn't answer, just looked up and said, I've never left 10,000 Sword City in centuries, and now I get to see the wonders of Yuxu. Her expression turned worried again as she continued. But I've heard she's aloof and pure, untouched by worldly dust. I'm surprised Jun Zan could become her confidant. Lingjun quickly waved her hands in denial. No, then she cautiously added, Senior sister and that supreme elder of Tianbao Pavilion are actually a lot like you. City Lord. Duan Lanruo let out a surprised, oh, then stepped forward to ruffle Lingjun's hair, smiling gently. Like me, can you tell me how you met? Zhuizhui, lying below, perked up her ears to listen. She sneaked a glance at the two, frowning inwardly. This tone is exactly like when she was scheming with Jun Zan, trying to stir up conflict. HMPH meow, I'm not stupid. Times like this I should just sit here poking fish and watch the tigers fight from the shore. Meanwhile, Duan Lanruo turned around, lost in thought. So Jun Zan has learned some bad habits. Lingjun was taken aback, resting her chin on her hand thoughtfully. He wasn't like this before. I always thought he was a good kid. Lingjun quickly shook her head. No, it's not that scary. Then, nervously twisting her hair ribbon, she said, Back then I felt like senior sister and the others weren't being forced either. Maybe it was enough. Duan Lanruo looked surprised and Lingjun, blushing, continued. And he was gentle with senior sister. Liao Meng also wanted to stay and protect her. He told me and Zhuizhui to leave first. Duan Lanruo let out a soft sigh of relief. I see, that puts my mind at ease. Suddenly she leaned in, took Lingjun's hand and said with a pursed smile, But something still feels off. Lingjun broke into a sweat, nervously asking, Oh, what's off? Duan Lanruo met her eyes and continued smiling. Since you're about to marry little Jun Zan, why still call him Zhang Feng? Isn't that too distant? You should start practicing now. Lingjun's face turned bright red. She looked away and stammered, Husband. Meanwhile, Zhuizhui on the ground called out darkly, Meow. She screamed inwardly, Too disgusting, I can't take it. What husband? All this flirting so shameless. After saying it, Lingjun was so embarrassed she shrieked and ran off. So embarrassing. Only Duan Lanruo and Zhuizhui remained. Zhuizhui sat on the ground, arms crossed, sulking, learning fast at such a young age. Duan Lanruo crouched down, ruffled her head and said with a pursed smile, What's wrong? Is Zhuizhui jealous? Zhuizhui immediately denied it. You're not my mount. What do I know about jealousy? The scene shifted to a forest where Lu Yuan sat on a tree observing something. He stared intently at a massive red object ahead. The inner sect formation of the Lihuo sect. If you haven't trained in their techniques, you can't move here. Didn't expect the random point to land here, he thought. He opened his system and continued. Who hasn't been a fire mage? According to the lore, Feng Feifeng, the founder of Lihuo sect, was a man heartbroken by love. But plenty of people have been hurt by love. This guy just happened to found a sect. In his 1,000 years of cultivation, he was abandoned and betrayed over 600 times. That's the most appealing part of Lihuo sect. So when players and NPCs form bonds in the game, they get a boost, 10 more spell damage and continuous burning damage to targets. It's interesting for those who care. Meanwhile, Lu Yuan rested his chin on his hand, deep in thought. I remember at the Tide Listening Sword Gathering there was someone from Lihuo sect I think named Ni Failuan. She even made it into the top 20 of the Black Sword list. She's probably back at the sect by now. With that, he jumped down from the tree and cautiously approached the area, sweating. He inched forward, muttering, Feng Feifeng, Ni Failuan, those names seem connected. Is she a quest NPC too? He continued, rummaging through the grass. I've never had a chance to interact with Lihuo sect because every time I show my face, their players chase me down. He sighed softly. And second, what's with me, a single guy, having other people's wives pointing swords at me just because I'm too handsome? Suddenly, Lu Yuan looked at the city ahead and thought, this place is completely unreasonable. No wonder the Lihuo sect folks are always fighting and cursing, unable to distinguish friend from foe. Meanwhile, in the Qian Valley, Lu Yuan had infiltrated and was observing the people there, crouching on a rooftop, sweating and smiling wryly. Did I sneak into a girl's dorm? Yeah, below, a voice called out, Senior Sister Ni. The girl looked at Ni Failuan excitedly. I heard that during the sect leader's fire transmission ceremony, the forbidden area will be opened for outstanding inner disciples to choose a second life flame. Really? Ni Failuan replied calmly. The sect leader does have that intention. The two maidservants immediately got excited. Then Senior Sister Ni must be chosen. If you can use a phoenix as your second life flame, your alchemy prospects will soar. With the sect's resources, your future will be limitless. Even if you can't match Hailing Immortal, making the top 10 shouldn't be hard, right? Ni Failuan said flatly. Who can say about the future? Like that Zhang Feng, now he's called Lu Yuan. Chasing the sun into shadows, not long ago, Zhang Feng was a powerful figure on the Black Sword list. Even the Qingfeng talisman predicted he'd be a top 3 contender. Now he's been ostracized by Yuxu sect, reduced to a ghost of his former self, she continued. He killed over 80 Yuxu disciples on Huling River, then fled severely wounded, vanishing without a trace along with those lost souls. Who knows what's happening with Yuxu Dao Sect now? Lu Yuan chuckled to himself, surprised to hear his name here. This girl's cold face reminded him of a dean, but she was pretty straightforward. The first maidservant exclaimed, Zhang Feng, the one on the Black Sword list? The second maidservant added, I heard he's juggling 3 relationships in 10,000 Sword City, and someone's helping him. The first maidservant fumed. Is there anyone more shameless in the world? The second continued. And more than that, the Qingfeng talisman traced his origins. He had 2 fiancées, but just before the wedding, the Green Lotus Swordmaster chased him all the way home, forcing him to flee to 10,000 Sword City. Those 2 lovesick girls were left abandoned at the border of a mortal kingdom. Lu Yuan was dumbfounded. What kind of ridiculous rumors are these? I did leave. But that was to avoid the curse's influence. How does that sound? Like I abandoned 2 mortal girls? Like I looked down on their low status? The first maidservant gasped, covering her mouth. Is he even human? The second grew angrier. That makes 5 girls already. What a heartless playboy. He deserves to be hunted. There might be more girls he's ruined, just not exposed yet. I've seen evil cultivators from the Bliss sect who target high-ranking female cultivators, using sinister techniques to control them, even if the evil cultivator is killed. The victims dare not speak out. Lu Yuan grew irritated. How did I end up compared to a Bliss sect evil cultivator? It was all consensual, okay? But then he paused, realizing that for her it probably did feel that way. Huang Quan is the master of BALA Mansion, proud and arrogant, never allowing her image to crumble. Even if it's embarrassing, she'd endure it. Encountering something identical to being defiled by a lecher, she'd probably react the same way. TCH, how did I unconsciously compare myself to a lecher? This doesn't count. Huang Quan struck first. I was just defending myself. Just then, he heard Ni Failuan's junior sister's voice. If I ever meet him, I'll seek justice for all female cultivators in the world. Lu Yuan muttered, Hey, how did it escalate to all female cultivators? Lihuo sect disciples are so self-righteous. These people, lost in their own self-satisfaction, look down on others' passionate feelings, the junior sister asked. Senior Sister Ni, you saw him once in 10,000 Sword City, right? The other girl chimed in. Was he fat and ugly, with a big belly, a hideous face, lecherous eyes, but incredibly skilled in mystic arts? No, Lu Yuan imagined it himself. If I were really like that, this persona would be too explosive. Does this girl have a vivid imagination? No wonder such love-forbidden sects breed perverts. Ni Failuan recalled Lu Yuan's face and replied, he's fairly handsome, extremely skilled in mystic arts and not a bad person. Much more interesting than those useless types. Mid-sentence she snapped back to reality and turned to leave. This has nothing to do with us. Why talk so much? Focus on preparing for the fire transmission ceremony. You should train harder and not fall behind. The two junior sisters, seeing her leave, trembled, thinking, Senior Sister is so scary. Lu Yuan mused, the Lihuo sect's fire transmission ceremony. I think I remember it. It's a selection ritual for true disciples. Though Lihuo sect has no tribulation transcendence experts, they have plenty of fusion stage ones. Forcing my way into the guarded forbidden area won't be easy. During the ceremony, the defenses are even tighter. Better to sneak in when they voluntarily open it. Using the illusion technique of the mirror moonstone to disguise myself as an elder of the Lihuo sect for a short time is something I can manage. The only problem now is how to sneak into the flame transmission ceremony. From what I saw earlier, Ni Failuan seems to have a decent impression of me, so she should be easy to approach. If I get close, she won't immediately call for help. In that case, I'll have to forcibly seize it then. No, this whole train of thought is completely wrong. He groaned, clutching his head, then excitedly thought again. Better to play it safe. Use Yu Jingyu's illusion to put her in a half-asleep state and then… No, that's even worse. Doesn't that make me a complete lecher? Lu Yuan's face turned pale as he muttered to himself, damn it, I'm no lecher. If anything, I should be called a romantic hero. How did I end up like this for no reason? Then he figured out the cause. This matter might not be so simple. Was it because the demonic energy was fully activated back then? But now isn't the time to study inner demons. The breakthrough is right in front of me, far yet near, Lu Yuan thought as he followed behind Ni Failuan. But how can I get her to help me? She still doesn't know someone's tailing her. Just as she was opening the door, Ni Failuan swiftly closed it, shut her eyes, and let out a soft sigh of relief. Then she walked to the cabinet to look for something. Finding what she needed, she held it in her hand and slowly approached the bathtub. Water gushed into the tub with a splash. After a while, Ni Failuan and Lu Yuan locked eyes. He turned his head and coughed. Calm down first. I need to figure something out. I didn't come here for you. I have many women, Ling Hao is just one of them. If we're comparing, there are plenty more, so I'm not desperate enough for this. Ni Failuan sat in the bathtub. Chen Chu said, then what were you doing just now? Lu Yuan frowned and asked flatly, do you really want me to say it? She looked at him, suddenly calmed down and then turned away awkwardly. If it's not for me, then you must have another purpose. Lately only the flame transmission ceremony is worth a wanted man like you coming here. I guess you overheard my conversation with my junior sisters earlier, so you got this idea to use me. Lu Yuan pointed at her and stated his goal directly. You're straightforward, so I'll be direct too. I want to enter your forbidden area. Don't worry, I'm not planning to use this to blackmail your sect. Ni Failuan said seriously, the forbidden area only contains the scorching phoenix strange fire. Without the elders guarding it, even we can't get in. And this time's selection isn't simple. I'm not confident either. Even if I could enter, I'd only be able to pick a wisp of life fire from the outskirts. Lu Yuan silently stirred the water with his hand. Ni Failuan added, inside it's barren with nothing but fire. It's called a forbidden area because it's too dangerous. Lu Yuan voiced his guess. Are you worried I've believed rumors that the Lihuo sect's forbidden area has some rare treasures, and you're warning me so I don't throw my life away? So you're agreeing to help with this, then it's settled. I'll help you secure the true disciple qualification, and you'll help me sneak into the ceremony. As long as I can get within 100 zhong of the forbidden area, I'll definitely get in without anyone noticing. Ni Failuan quickly said, wait, did you even listen to what I said? When did I say I was worried about you? I didn't agree either. Lu Yuan froze and asked, oh, so the negotiation failed? Then he stood up, his face dark, and walked toward her. Ni Failuan stammered, what are you doing? Lu Yuan threatened coldly. You don't seem as firm as you claim. If I really wanted to force you, I'd have made you cooperate by now. But I've done nothing. Since we can't work together, I'll just slip away quietly. Ni Failuan looked at him, startled. His hair had turned white. Just as Lu Yuan was about to reach the door, she asked, I want to know why you're so determined to enter the forbidden area. Lu Yuan answered honestly, to be frank, I don't have long to live. My only hope is the phoenix blood left by the Nirvana Phoenix. If you can't help, I'll have to force my way in myself. After a while, Ni Failuan changed clothes and handed him a token. From now on you're an outer sect servant sent by me. This is your identity token." Lu Yuan took it, examined it for a moment and read the engraving. He asked suspiciously, "How do you have an outer disciple's identity token? And you can just give it to me?" "This is Du Zi," Ni Failuan replied calmly. "There's no such person." Lu Yuan asked warily, "You didn't silence him, did you?" She denied loudly. No. Seeing her reaction, Lu Yuan was inwardly surprised and hesitated. "Oh, sorry," she didn't respond. Ni Failuan thought to herself, compared to 4 months ago, this person has changed a lot. If it were Zhang Feng from 4 months ago, he'd probably be even more unscrupulous now. But even so, showing up while someone's bathing is still shameless enough. A few minutes later, she finally explained, "If you go missing or die, you naturally can't use the token anymore. This identity token is a fake I made a few days ago when I was investigating a disciple's illicit affair in the outer sect." Lu Yuan asked his doubt. "No one knows this identity is fake," Ni Failuan replied. "No one knows. I'm helping a junior sister gather evidence. That matter isn't simple. It involves a spy from the Bliss sect. The more careful, the better. I haven't had time to destroy the wooden token since I got back. Now it's just right for you," he thought to himself. The Lihuo sect's arch-rival is the Bliss sect, so finding a spy isn't surprising. He then asked, "But speaking of which, wouldn't a sudden male servant by your side raise suspicion?" Ni Failuan explained. "Although the Lihuo sect strictly forbids marriage and has rules to kill without mercy for promiscuous types, it's not like we're paranoid about everything. As long as you behave like a servant, it'll be fine. But don't stick around me too much. I must be crazy to help you for no reason." Lu Yuan smiled. "And I should thank you for not killing me." He changed the subject. "All right, the identity issue is settled. Now tell me, who will you face in this flame transmission ceremony? I can give you on-the-spot advice." Saying this, Lu Yuan grabbed her hand. Ni Failuan struggled. "Hey, what are you doing?" he said calmly. "Don't move, cooperate. I need to check your foundation first. Oh, I mean your cultivation level, so I can better plan tactics." While Lu Yuan was examining her, Ni Failuan froze, realizing he was genuinely checking her cultivation. On the eve of the flame transmission ceremony, Ni Failuan was diligently cultivating when she suddenly sensed something amiss. She snapped her eyes open. Ni Failuan said frantically, "Master, I'm back." At that moment, the bulletin board displayed information. Character Xu Pingnan, gender female, title Zhu Yi Lian Huo Y Ju Ji Fen Cheng Zhang Shan, level Immortal Path Unity 9 layers, interface attributes. Opening it, she secretly guessed that her master must want to kill him to seek justice for all women. When Xu Pingnan walked in, Ni Failuan stammered an explanation. Master, it's not what you think. He's here to. Xu Pingnan mused to herself, after all these years apart, to meet again in such a situation. No wonder his clothes were a bit wrinkled but not messy. Though his face was pale from panic, he wasn't sweating or blushing. They were about 3 steps apart and the cushion on the floor was intact, showing no suspicious signs, being in the same room. But it didn't seem to have gone that far, did it? Xu Pingnan sighed, cutting off Ni Failuan before she could finish. "I understand," then she said bluntly. "You can't be together." Ni Failuan broke out in a cold sweat and quickly denied. "Master, really it's not that," Xu Pingnan said coldly. "Not that. A man and a woman alone in the same room late at night. What else could it be? If you separate, I won't bring up the past. But if someone else finds out, even I won't be able to protect you." Her heart ached. Her master indeed thought she had violated the sect's ban but was still protecting her. Then Ni Failuan spoke. "Master, your disciple admits fault, but..." Xu Pingnan patted her shoulder and said slowly, "I've watched you grow up. I can't stand by and let you go astray. I'm doing this for your own good. All men are bad. Do you know who this guy is?" Ni Failuan stammered. He is." Xu Pingnan pointed directly at Lu Yuan and rattled off. "He's Lu Yuan, Lu Junquan, also known as Zhu Riching Ying Zhang Feng." Hearing this, Lu Yuan felt secretly smug, but she continued. "He has 2 primary wives and is the adopted son of Duan Lanruo, the city lord of 10,000 Sword City. He's also the one the young master of the Zan Yin family insists on marrying. The Qinglian sword disciple is infatuated with him, and Ling Hao is so bewitched by him that she dares to defy her family." Lu Yuan could only smile bitterly. Xu Pingnan said emotionally, "Failuan, don't be fooled by him. Men like him who toy with emotions should be killed on sight in my Lihuo sect." She repeated the word kill. Lu Yuan thought wearily, "Damn, is this woman jealous?" Hearing Xu Pingnan's words, Ni Failuan immediately stood in front of him. "No, master, you can't kill him. He can't die," Xu Pingnan retorted. "Why not? He's made countless women infatuated with him without a care. People like him only know how to enjoy themselves. How could they understand the torment and pain a woman suffers day and night for the one she loves?" Lu Yuan stood up and denied. "I'm not uncaring, it's just that some people never give me a chance." Lu Yuan looked at Xu Pingnan and she was startled. Did he recognize me? Impossible, how could he? I've traveled far and wide, always disguised, and no one has ever seen through me, Xu Pingnan said. What do you mean? Are you trying to say that your philandering ways are the women's fault? Lu Yuan, Lu Junquan, who gave you the nerve to be so insolent in front of me and throw your weight around in the Lihuo sect? Lu Yuan explained with a headache. I'm just amorous, not promiscuous. Every woman I've touched I take responsibility for. No matter the difficulties, I make them willing to follow me, but some people won't even reveal their true identity. He stepped closer to her, lacking even basic trust, yet blaming me for not caring. I don't even know who she really is, where to find her or how to care for her. Xu Pingnan turned her face away and whispered, what do you mean by that? I don't understand. Ni Failuan stared blankly at them, thinking, something's off. Master doesn't understand and I don't quite get it either. Lu Yuan pressed on. Don't understand? It's fine. Xu Pingnan, if you don't, someone else will. The distance between them shrank and Xu Pingnan blushed deeply. She stammered, Who understands? There's no one else here. Don't talk nonsense. Ni Failuan thought in shock. Master is stammering. She's like a different person. What are they talking about? Is it code? Do they already know each other? Should I leave? Just then, Lu Yuan said, Failuan, step out first. I need to talk to your master. She immediately replied, okay, sure. Hearing this, Xu Pingnan panicked. That would leave us alone. Seeing Ni Failuan about to rush out, she quickly called out, wait, but Lu Yuan's arm had already wrapped around Xu Pingnan's waist. She looked down in surprise as he pulled her whole body toward him with a slight effort. She stared at Lu Yuan, both embarrassed and flustered. Their eyes met, and he pinned her hands against the wall, then leaned close to her ear. You've worked hard deceiving me. Xu Pingnan said, you? Just then she heard a noise. Ni Failuan opened the door to peek, stared at them blankly, and immediately closed it again. Lu Yuan thought this girl saw it. Then Xu Pingnan glared at him angrily. Lu Junquan, what exactly are you trying to do? Lu Yuan said excitedly. Finally dropping the act, Xu Pingnan remained silent. He grabbed her hand and pulled her into his arms. And only then did she say, I wasn't acting. I am Xu Pingnan. Lu Yuan pressed on. Oh, then who was it that swore vows with me? Wasn't it the hero of the extreme East Sea, Kong Shilan, but the Lihuo sect elder Xu Pingnan? As the head disciple, you don't set an example but deliberately break the rules. On the surface you forbid disciples from marrying or dating, but behind the scenes you break the rules yourself. Doesn't that torment and thrill you at the same time? She trembled and denied, No, I didn't. Lu Yuan coaxed softly. Didn't what? Didn't deliberately break the rules, or wasn't that what you really wanted? Aren't you happy now that I've come to find you, or was being with me just a necessity, and everything you said back then was fake? Xu Pingnan shyly said, Of course, I'm very happy. I remember everything from the extreme East Sea. Every word I said was true. I wanted to be with you from dawn to dusk every day, every month, every year. I even thought if I could, I'd give up the name Xu Pingnan, but I can't. Kong Shilan was destined to be a nameless hero of the extreme East Sea. She can't be Xu Pingnan. He asked in confusion, Why not? If the happiness is real, your feelings are real, and everything we've been through is real. Then why can't Kong Shilan be Xu Pingnan? Xu Pingnan cried hesitantly. But Lu Yuan hugged her from behind and whispered, What you should give up isn't the name Xu Pingnan but Kong Shilan. You've always been Xu Pingnan. Now I want to know you fully, not just the hero Kong Shilan but also the Lihuo sect elder Xu Pingnan. Is that okay? You are Xu Pingnan and Kong Shilan is also Xu Pingnan, so I only need to know one Xu Pingnan. Xu Pingnan looked at him joyfully and then confessed, I searched for you for over a month. I was so worried, not knowing where you were, but you seem to have vanished. I told myself you couldn't be dead, but I still felt a bit discouraged. Unexpectedly, Lu Yuan interrupted, I want to clarify something for Failuan. There is nothing improper between her and me. I simply needed her help with something. Your disciple is excellent and I admire her, but that's all. She paused, stunned. How is that possible? You and that child, have I misunderstood? He crossed his arms and continued, Yes, you have, and it's a major misunderstanding. She was just trying to tell the truth earlier, but you thought she was making excuses. Xu Pingnan awkwardly looked away. He patted her head, and then Lu Yuan said gently, You've been looking for me for half a month because you can't let go. Since you can't let go, how can you still be at ease as an elder of the Lihuo sect, leaving me with a shadow that might never reappear? Isn't that a bit selfish of you? Xu Pingnan said hastily. But he suddenly kissed her. Xu Pingnan struggled and cried out, Then he placed his hand on her buttocks and Lu Yuan's hand slipped under her skirt. Xu Pingnan stared at him wide-eyed, decisively pushed him away and then turned and ran. Lu Yuan sighed, watching her retreating figure. Just then a head peeked out from behind the door. Nian Failuan asked softly, What exactly is your relationship with my master? He replied calmly, That depends on what your master thinks. For now we're barely friends. She pressed on, gossipy. And before? Lu Yuan was silent for a moment, then turned and said, This matter concerns Elder Shu's reputation, so I won't reveal anything until she agrees. If you remember that your master has always looked out for you, then pretend you heard nothing just now." Hearing this, Nian Failuan speculated inwardly. This man, though a rogue with many women, is unexpectedly gentle. Then she cursed in her heart, "Gentle my foot. What's it to me?" she asked again. "And if master doesn't agree," Lu Yuan replied flatly, "it's just a matter of time. Once she thinks it through, I'll find a way to get her to leave the Lihuo sect without any lingering attachments." Nian Failuan continued, "Are you so sure? Master grew up in the Lihuo sect and has deep feelings for it. And after all you said just now, she didn't waver at all. Can you really be confident she'll change her mind in just this short time?" Lu Yuan chuckled lightly. "Didn't waver?" Nian Failuan asked, puzzled. "What are you laughing at?" He sneered. "Are you still single?" She was furious but couldn't do anything about him. After calming down, she said, "I just thought of something hilarious." He asked curiously what it was. Nian Failuan said, "I heard that Qinglian Swordmaster planned to attack Wanli Swordmaster, but he was so scared he abandoned the engagement to his 2 wives and fled to Wanjian City overnight for refuge." Lu Yuan said awkwardly, "Ha, very funny." The two then exchanged a silent glance, turned away simultaneously, and each sighed. Then he added, "If I had to explain every reason to you, it would take a lot of time. This kind of thing you understand with a little experience. Those who don't get it still won't." She asked doubtfully, "Experience? How do I get it?" Lu Yuan replied, "Simple. For example, try it with someone. If once isn't enough, try a few more times." She then asked about the someone. He said bluntly, "Oh, that means dating." Nian Failuan said shyly, "But I'm a disciple of the Lihuo sect. I can't date within the sect." Hearing this, he was startled. And Lu Yuan thought to himself, "Can't find someone inside. Isn't there someone right outside?" This Nian Failuan knows full well that I'm ambiguous with her master, yet she dares to hint so blatantly. Could it be that someone as upright and strict as Nian Failuan actually craves excitement deep down? Or perhaps in the oppressive environment of the Lihuo sect, everyone has a bit of a twisted side. By now her face was as red as a temple statue, and her hands were too nervous to know where to put them. Seeing this, Lu Yuan thought, "Oh no, this is a prim and proper pervert." Then he replied calmly, "Of course you can't find someone inside. Even if you did, the risk of being discovered is too high, too dangerous." Nian Failuan answered disappointedly. "Of course, the male disciples in the sect treat women like snakes and beasts, always cold and distant to the female disciples. There were even some elders who suggested splitting the sect, saying that since marriage is forbidden, there's no need for male and female disciples to be together." He asked curiously, "That makes sense. What happened then?" She continued. "Some also believe that the Lihuo sect focuses on cultivating the mind, so thoughts of love must be completely erased from the mind. Thus, instead of separating, they use cohabitation as a standard to test whether they develop feelings." Lu Yuan looked up at the sky and sighed inwardly. These single sects really don't understand feelings. Then he moved closer to Nian Failuan. "It seems you'll have to look outside the sect," she thought shyly. "Why do I immediately take the bait every time he speaks, without any hesitation? He's my master's man." Then Lu Yuan said confidently, "Actually, I'm the best choice." He reached out and took her hand, then added, "Think about it. Among the men you know, I'm the closest to you, and I have many women, plenty of experience. Isn't that better than you fumbling around to find someone else? If you want to know what dating is like, I'll accompany you a few times and you'll understand." Nian Failuan, while thinking, hurriedly shook off his hand and denied it. "This bastard is truly shameless, a lecher who loves anyone he sees. Master just left and he's already, clearly, I would never tolerate such a person before. I'd kill them on sight. But now," Nian Failuan explained softly, "just trying it out, a little understanding, can't take it seriously." Lu Yuan thought, "Do you really think you get to decide that? How naive." He replied happily, "All right, since you want excitement, let's see it through." In an instant, Nian Failuan was pushed down, and Lu Yuan pounced on her like a hungry tiger, pinning her to the bed. From another angle, all you could see was the two of them tangled together, rolling on the bed with the curtains drawn. The author won't draw the exciting parts. Hee. By now it was dark. Xu Pingnan stood outside Wei Failuan's room. She thought, "Why did I run away? How embarrassing." But thankfully Zhang Feng and Failuan aren't like that, or that child wouldn't know how to face me. Xu Pingnan sighed in relief and then walked toward the door, pushing it open and entering. The room was empty, with only 2 cushions left askew. The bed was also messy, everything in disarray. Xu Pingnan thought, "This child, I've neglected to take care of her these past few years. She's still like a little kid with such messy sleeping habits." Then she walked in and heard a sound from behind the partition. "Is that you, master?" Xu Pingnan thought. "Is Failuan bathing, right? The fire transmission ceremony is soon. She needs to burn incense and bathe." Then she replied, "Yes, Failuan." Lu Yuan thought to himself. And Nian Failuan replied calmly, "Reporting to master. After you left, he hurried after you. Hearing this, she was startled, and then Xu Pingnan asked hastily, "He hasn't come back yet?" Nian Failuan replied, "No." She immediately turned around worriedly and said, "How can he be so reckless? Why didn't you stop him? This is the Lihuo sect. With his current low cultivation, if he gets seriously injured, or if a junior sister or another elder finds out, the consequences would be unthinkable." "Ah," Nian Failuan, still in the bath, added, "I advised him, but he said he was worried about you and insisted on following." She pondered for a moment, then Xu Pingnan looked toward the door and rushed out like lightning. The bath was now steaming, and Lu Yuan sat comfortably inside, exchanging a glance with Wei Failuan. Then both sighed in relief. Nian Failuan scolded, "It's all your fault. We almost got caught by Master. If I get expelled from the sect, you'll be left in 2 pieces, head and body." Lu Yuan paled. "You're overthinking it. If it really happened, she'd probably kill us both and hug my head and commit suicide. Don't ask me how I know." She immediately pushed him. "Who wants to die with you?" Then Nian Failuan said sadly, "You tricked Master into worrying so much. You must feel bad, right?" Lu Yuan replied, "I'll apologize to your master soon. Isn't this just a temporary measure? If I didn't make her worry about me acting recklessly, how could I be here talking to you unscathed?" She pushed him hard. "Hurry up and leave. I still need to bathe. After what you did to me, I'm not clean yet. How can I attend the fire transmission ceremony like this?" Lu Yuan grabbed her foot and said playfully, "You're already mine. That's the greatest desecration of the Lihuo sect. Why bother with all this now?" Nian Failuan immediately changed the subject. "Stop dawdling. What if a junior sister comes looking for me?" Lu Yuan teased. "Even better, we can bathe together." Nian Failuan was furious. "You scoundrel." After a while, Lu Yuan rubbed his sore waist, puzzled. "Why were you so cautious when we first met? As soon as we got involved, you got bold. Just a foundation establishment girl, and you dare to reject me? Is this even a woman?" On the other side, Nian Failuan was about to stand up but stared blankly in his direction. Then she panicked. "My clothes, Lu Yuan," she screamed. "I still have the fire transmission ceremony to attend, you bastard." On the mountaintop, Lu Yuan looked back. Turning around, Xu Pingnan was already standing before him, barefoot, calling him Jun Zan. Lu Yuan excitedly replied to Xu. Then he turned away sadly. "Elder Xu, I'm relieved you're safe. I apologize for my earlier rudeness. It won't happen again. Once I finish what I need to do, I'll leave and won't bother you anymore." Xu Pingnan couldn't believe it. She thought, "What did he call me? How can he call me Elder Xu?" Then he continued, "I thought it over all night. I'm afraid I was too presumptuous, only wanting you to belong to me. I wanted a complete Xu Pingnan, but it seems I was too greedy. Failuan was right. Your loyalty to the sect runs deeper than your feelings for me. I shouldn't have forced you to choose. Watching you leave yesterday, I wondered if I was wrong. What you desire is a simple, ordinary relationship, but to you, your duty to the sect is equally important. Otherwise, you wouldn't have hidden your identity back then, or disappeared later." Xu Pingnan retorted inwardly, No, it's just I." Lu Yuan turned to face her and said, "I used to think I could convince you because I believed our feelings could transcend everything. Now I realize I was too naive," Xu Pingnan said painfully. "Actually, the one who let go first was clearly me," Lu Yuan asked, puzzled. "What?" He stared blankly at Xu Pingnan's tightly clasped hands, and then she rushed over and grabbed his. Xu Pingnan looked at him shyly. "Ah, I like you, you're right. I can't bear you leaving, I can't let go. I was just afraid you'd think I'm shameless. Clearly an elder of the Lihuo sect, yet I break the rules myself and can't stop. I can't get past my own hang-ups." Lu Yuan hugged Xu Pingnan tightly and comforted her softly. "It's already admirable that you dare to pursue what you want. How could I look down on you? To be honest, I really like you like this." He held her close. "The Lihuo sect's rules have long lost their humanity. Do you really think those disciples expelled from the sect were wrong? Daring to pursue what you want is already a precious thing. How could I despise you?" Xu Pingnan said shyly. You're always bullying me. And so flirtatious." He patted her head and said, "If only I were just flirtatious. Unfortunately, I'm deeply devoted to everyone." Xu Pingnan took his hand and said, "You talk a good game. I haven't settled accounts with you over your lovers yet. And what exactly are you doing at the Lihuo sect? Where have you been this half-month?" "I have no idea." Lu Yuan looked at her tenderly, holding Xu Pingnan as he said, "Then I'll tell you slowly." But she sensed something and thought, the scent on him is familiar, not only familiar but also fresh, as if she had just smelled it recently, the fragrance from the small incense burner on the table in Failuan's room. Failuan only lit the incense after Lu Yuan left, so where did the scent on him come from? Lu Yuan explained, "I can't say where I've been this half-month, but Ling Hao has been by my side." Just then she spoke up. "Wait." As he looked, the progress bar wasn't locked at all. Lu Yuan asked nervously, "What's wrong?" Xu Pingnan held up a strand of hair and said coldly, "I think you should explain what this is." He blurted out, "Oh no," then she said, "Jun Zan, with my cultivation level, aside from the natural circulation of spiritual power, blood and essence, My body basically doesn't change, you know that, right? Even if 100 or 1,000 years pass, unless something unexpected happens, I'll stay like this. In other words, I don't shed hair, do I? Lu Yuan said fearfully. I can explain. Her voice was icy. Fine, go ahead. I'll listen carefully. Hearing this, Lu Yuan trembled all over. Xu Pingnan grabbed his collar and continued, and while you're at it, explain where the scent on you came from. This is the unique flame god incense of the Lihuo sect, burned specifically during the bath before the fire transmission ceremony. I just smelled it in Failuan's room. Can you tell me honestly? His face pale, Lu Yuan thought, this is bad. How do I explain this? I might as well come clean and find a way to get her to accept Nian Failuan, get the master and disciple on board together. He hugged her tightly, but Lu Yuan was immediately restrained. I actually only have half a month left to live, Xu Pingnan screamed. Lu Yuan, you'd rather say something like that than tell me the truth, he continued calmly. I was just about to tell you. I've been thinking if there's a way to find phoenix blood because aside from that, I have no other way to save myself. Xu Pingnan immediately grabbed Lu Yuan's hand to check his pulse. Then her hands dropped weakly, she said in disbelief. How could this be? Lu Yuan explained. 3 nascent soul elders of Yuxu besieged Ling Hao and me at Huling River. If I hadn't paid this price I would have died right then. Xu Pingnan threw herself into his arms, anxiously calling Zhen Zan. Just then a voice rang out, senior sister. Xu Pingnan opened his eyes at the words and shoved him aside without ceremony. Lu Yuan found it both exasperating and amusing. Damn it, seriously? Do all you Lihuo sect people love appearing out of thin air like this? A bespectacled young woman carrying a stack of books walked out. Senior sister, who is this? The system prompted at that moment. Current Lihuo sect leader, Zhang Yoren. Lu Yuan stared at her, dumbfounded. Zhang Yoren asked, why are you here? Senior sister, did he threaten you? Xu Pingnan immediately denied it. No, it's not him, Zhen Zan. He's still thinking about the progress being full, the system continued prompting. Character, Yun Yuba, 3 stars, gender. Female title. Unceasing steps through the sea of books, level, immortal Dao, core formation, 4th layer. Character, Zhang Yoren, 5 stars, gender. Female title. Strolling clouds, patrolling seas, rising tides, a single drift between heaven and earth, level, immortal Dao, body integration, 9th layer. Afterwards, Lu Yuan thought with a wry smile, I thought this was the safest sect, but in a flash I've been struck by 2 lightning bolts. Weren't you just an ordinary girl studying at Baishan Academy? How did you suddenly become the Lihuo sect leader? Damn, how is Yun Mu actually Zhang Yoren? I've seen Zhang Yoren before. She was a mature, elegant woman. How could she be this person in front of me? Wait, the timeline in the game. I arrived at the Lihuo sect much later than this. In the game's timeline, decades, even centuries had passed. It's not impossible for a lowly to turn into a mature woman. This isn't a dead end. It's the key to breaking the deadlock. Then he started to act. Why am I here? Don't you know? Zhang Yoren was silent for a moment. Then she denied it. I didn't mean it that way, but I had no choice. Xu Pingnan thought to herself. Do these two know each other? But Lu Yuan said, I always thought you were a woman of integrity. I never expected you to do something like this. Then he thought, success or failure hinges on this moment. Zhang Yoren looked at him in surprise, while Xu Pingnan secretly wondered, could that strand of hair really be the junior sister's? Lu Yuan continued, the dignified Lihuo sect leader doing such a thing, have you no shame before your senior sister? Zhang Yoren was silent for a while. Then she said, I do feel guilty, but I have never regretted what I did. Don't try to persuade me, you can't change my mind. Senior sister, I've liked him for a long time. I've liked him for a very long time. I'm sorry for hiding it from you for so long. Now it's finally time for me to come clean. Xu Pingnan thought, the junior sister is declaring war on me. Then Chen Chu said, you're on you. Zhang Yoren turned around. Senior sister, I know you won't agree, but I'm no longer the little kid who always followed you around. Back then, before I became the sect leader, I even thought how wonderful it would be if you were the sect leader. Then I could elope without any worries and maybe I'd even have a child by now, she stammered. Lu Yuan thought that line was too bold. Xu Pingnan trembled all over and could only utter one word. No. Lu Yuan took her hand, then said gently, I was going to tell you about this just now, but I was afraid you couldn't handle it. Why put yourself through this? Xu Pingnan looked at him, choking back sobs. I know I can't refuse her, but this is a huge mistake. Zhang Yoren spoke up. Since you can't refuse, why not just enjoy it, senior sister? This is the natural principle of heaven and earth, yin and yang. Do you really think all the rules our founder set back then are reasonable? Before he established the sect rules, didn't he himself have over 600 love affairs? If that's the case, didn't he violate the sect rules over 600 times himself? In the end, he only resented love because his own romantic path was rough. It was his own personal matter. So why should we bear the consequence of never being able to marry for a lifetime? She scolded. Blasphemy, Yoren, you are truly blasphemous. Lu Yuan thought, that's about enough. If we go on, everything will be exposed. He immediately said, stop it. Do you want to make your senior sister faint? Besides, aren't you supposed to be presiding over the flame passing ceremony? If you don't go now, all that bathing and incense burning will be for nothing. Hearing this, Xu Pingnan thought, bathing and incense burning, junior sister, how could she? Then she lifted her head and fainted in his arms. Lu Yuan called out, Elder Xu, but thought to himself, I didn't expect this matter to hit Xu Pingnan so hard. He stroked Xu Pingnan's hair and called out again. Lu Yuan looked at her in surprise, then said hurriedly, Yoren, come quickly, your senior sister seems to have gone into qi deviation. Yoren held the unconscious Xu Pingnan's hand. After a moment she concluded, senior sister is at the critical peak of the body integration stage, about to break through. Emotional instability has caused a flare-up of internal fire, manifesting a heart demon. It's not serious. A few hours of calming her breath and regulating her qi will be enough. After hearing this, Lu Yuan immediately sat down cross-legged. Let me transfer spiritual power to her to help stabilize her. Her cultivation is at a critical point, just a hair's breadth from touching the threshold of the tribulation transcendence stage. This is the first eruption of her accumulated heart demon. No wonder a master of her level would faint like this. I'll protect Elder Xu here. Aren't you going to the flame passing ceremony? Go quickly, don't delay the auspicious time. Where is Elder Xu's room, if she hasn't woken up by the time you're back? I can take her back. Yoran thought, why does leaving senior sister alone with Lu Yuan make me feel so uneasy? Thinking this, she said, senior sister is a woman. It's not appropriate for you two, a man and a woman alone, to be together. Lu Yuan gave a sarcastic smile. Yoran, you're not jealous of your senior sister, are you? Don't worry about that. Your senior sister is a body integration stage master. How could I possibly take advantage of her? Besides, she and I are old friends. Do we look like we're in that kind of relationship? And you know your senior sister's temperament. Yoren quickly waved her hand. That's not what I meant. It's just that I've never heard senior sister mention you. Lu Yuan explained slowly. I met your senior sister while traveling outside. Back then she was called Xu Shilan, not Xu Pingnan. It's normal that you've never heard her mention me. Zhang Yoren nodded, blushing. She paced to the other side. Senior sister's room is over there. You must take good care of her. It was wrong of me to make her so angry, but as I said, I don't regret it. Lu Yuan sighed. Why must you do this? Zhang Yoren leaned in close to look at him, and said coquettishly, senior sister said it herself just now, you can't refuse. Men always care about face, otherwise, knowing your temperament, I don't believe you could hold back. Lu Yuan was left speechless. Ah, Zhang Yoren brought her head close to Lu Yuan's ear again. She lowered her voice, tempting him. Senior sister's room is right next to mine. Come find me tonight. Then she giggled shyly. Zhang Yoren turned and ran off quickly. Take good care of senior sister for me, all right. I'm off. Lu Yuan sighed in frustration. What a mess this all was. He tensed his body and picked up Xu Pingnan. Lu Yuan looked at her and thought helplessly, this tactic is way too risky. It seems I'll be pushed to the brink soon, surrounded on all sides, but it's okay. For the sake of my wives, there's nothing to fear. Splash, by now it was dark. Lu Yuan carried her into the room and carefully laid Xu Pingnan on the bed. Her hair touched the mattress, and Xu Pingnan suddenly let out a soft moan. He removed her hairpin and adjusted Xu Pingnan's position. He looked at her with tender eyes. Xu Pingnan murmured in her coma, junior sister, no, he is mine. Then she woke with a start. Seeing this, Lu Yuan asked, awake? She replied, Jun Zan. Suddenly, Xu Pingnan looked down at her feet. He was holding her foot. She cried out and immediately pulled her foot back. Ah, he explained, you fainted just now. Zhang Yoren had to go to the flame-passing ceremony, so I brought you back to your room first. Xu Pingnan was startled. This is my room. Doesn't that give him another opportunity? Lu Yuan added, your heart demon suddenly flared up. I was just helping to regulate your chaotic internal energy. I think you'd better check it yourself. Xu Pingnan pouted and said, regulating internal energy is necessary, but is squeezing my foot also necessary? He crossed his arms and replied calmly, of course not. She immediately pressed on. Then why did you do it? Xu Pingnan thought indignantly. He's already done that kind of thing with junior sister, and now he's still here flirting with me. Lu Yuan said teasingly. I just thought Elder Xu's jade-like feet were slender and beautiful. Truly, I couldn't help myself for a moment. It had nothing to do with regulating internal energy, she cried out. You couldn't help yourself, and she couldn't help herself either. What do you two want me to do? He was silent for a moment. Then Lu Yuan explained, I want to enter the forbidden area because I need her help now. Junior sister, you are the sect leader. Since she's already started pressuring me, and you know the situation, how could I refuse? Xu Pingnan said incredulously. How could junior sister do this? He sighed and said, the lowly sect leader threatened the kind young man's life, forcing him to comply. Part 2. Then Lu Yuan continued his act. I went to find you last night and your junior sister accidentally discovered me. That's when I found out she was that old acquaintance from the library. Today I had to risk my life and do as she said. I originally wanted to keep it from you. I didn't expect you to come so quickly. I've wronged you, but the one I love is you." She looked at him silently. Lu Yuan put on a defiant air. "When you were unconscious just now, Zhang Yuan said I should go to her room next door tonight. If you disagree, I'll refuse her." Xu Pingnan blurted out in surprise. "What?" But then she saw Lu Yuan starting to tremble all over. Xu Pingnan rushed over and hugged him. "Jun Zan, there may not be phoenix blood in the forbidden area. After all, it's just a Nirvana Secret Realm. Besides a vast stretch of lifeless land and towering flames, there's nothing else there. Especially with your current strength." Lu Yuan suddenly turned his head to look directly into her eyes. "You should have heard of the effects of the blood-burning pill, but what I used wasn't just the blood-burning pill." Lu Yuan calculated inwardly. With Xu Pingnan's personality, she shouldn't be so jealous that she loses her mind, right? He continued. "The mark that the Yuxu Dao Sect attached to my head isn't entirely fake either." Xu Pingnan looked at his hand in horror. "Demon race." Lu Yuan withdrew his hand gloomily. I happened to find an empty stele in the martial emperor's tomb and obtained a few techniques, but those techniques are only suitable for demon race cultivation. It just so happened that I was ambushed by the demon race at the time, and demonic chi was surging inside me." After hearing this, Xu Pingnan raised her hand and slapped Lu Yuan. "Why did you say it out loud? What if I really took you for a demon and killed you?" Lu Yuan smiled gently. "Then you can do it now. Consider it letting off steam. It doesn't matter." Hearing this, Xu Pingnan pouted defiantly, then suddenly lunged at him. "I'll bite you to death." Lu Yuan blurted out. "This hand of mine just touched your foot." Xu Pingnan froze for a few seconds after hearing this, then hurriedly spat pitui 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 a few times. Seeing this, Lu Yuan laughed triumphantly. But then Xu Pingnan lunged at him again and spat into his mouth. "Let you laugh, now you get a taste too." Lu Yuan's eyes widened. "This is Xu Pingnan's first time being proactive. I'll gladly accept." Xu Pingnan propped herself up and looked down at Lu Yuan, whom she had pinned beneath her. "Are we even now?" Lu Yuan asked blankly. "So this was your retaliation?" Xu Pingnan stuck out her tongue triumphantly. "Hope it disgusts you to death." Lu Yuan retorted defiantly. "So the dignified Li Huo's sect elder thinks her own feet are dirty. What is the world coming to? But in my opinion, the elder is soft, fragrant, and clean from head to toe. It would be fine even to just lick them directly." Xu Pingnan blushed and scolded angrily. Shameless." Lu Yuan gently cupped her cheek. "I mean it." Xu Pingnan's voice was a little choked. "Is there really no other way?" Lu Yuan sighed silently, and the two looked at each other without a word. Xu Pingnan leaned against Lu Yuan's chest and said, "I know Yoren's temperament too well. If you don't go, she won't let it go." Tears welled in her eyes. "It's okay, I agree." The next day, during the sect's prayer ceremony, the sound of chanting filled the hall. Heaven and earth, all things, endlessly giving birth. Thousands of men and women honor the Tao and revere the truth. Though our human race is the foremost of all beings, we must not act recklessly due to the Tao's partiality. The vast heavens are clear, embracing the cosmos. All spirits and myriad things coexist. Nian Failuan hunched over, sighing inwardly. This prayer text is way too long. The elder on the stage droned on for ages, finally stiffly waving his hand. "The flame passing ceremony officially begins tomorrow." She breathed a sigh of relief and straightened up. "Better get back quickly." Yu watched her retreating figure and couldn't help but ask, "What's wrong with senior sister Nian? She seems distracted." Ling Hao mused, "Probably a bit nervous about the flame passing ceremony." After returning to her room, Nian Failuan leaned against the door and sighed in relief, then frowned in thought. "I wonder how that bastard and master are doing now. Honestly, just because I wouldn't let him kiss me. I've already given him my body, and he still holds such a petty grudge against me." Her cheeks suddenly flushed as an image of that shameless bellyband came to mind. Then she recalled the conversation between that elder and Zhang Yuan in the main hall earlier. Elder Xu." Zhang Yuan sat calmly in her chair and replied, "Senior sister suddenly had a heart demon attack. I looked after her for a while. Fortunately, it wasn't serious. She should be recovered by now," she mused. "A heart demon, I have a feeling this is somehow related to that bastard. Master should be fine, right?" Nian Failuan stealthily crept to the outside of Xu Pingnan's room and hid to one side, peeking inside. The light was still on in Master's room. What if Lu Yuan really is in Master's room? Should I pretend not to know him? Hearing the door creak open, she quickly craned her neck to look. Has the sect leader, Uncle Master, returned? But the person who walked out was Lu Yuan. Nian Failuan pursed her lips and thought, if he dares to walk out so boldly, then Master's heart demon is definitely related to him. Uncle Master must have been there too, so there's no need to worry about him being killed for exposing his identity. I just wonder what method he used to fool even the young sect leader Uncle Master. He's definitely heading back to his own place now. She was lost in her wild thoughts when she suddenly stopped, her eyes widening in shock. Wait, he can't use his disguise right now. She noticed his footsteps were a bit strange, and then she saw him push open Zhang Yuren's door. Nian Failuan covered her mouth in horror. How is this possible? He walks out of Master's room one moment and enters the young Uncle Master's room the next, and the young Uncle Master is the sect leader. She didn't dare make a sound, just clenched her fist and tapped lightly on the pillar, forcing herself to calm down. If even the sect leader violates the sect rules, then isn't the Li Huo sect going to fall into complete chaos? Then she opened her eyes and asked with slight confusion, Master, have you already agreed? But she immediately shook her head, dismissing the thought. No, maybe I'm wrong. How painful it must be for Master to watch the person she loves walk into someone else's room. Impossible, given Master's personality. How could she ever let Lu Yuan go to someone else? Logically, she should have just struck him down. So maybe they're actually discussing serious matters, right? Isn't he here for the forbidden ground? Perhaps he's using his connection with Master to beg the younger Master to go easy on him. But if that's the case, then maybe he no longer needs my help. Thinking this, she pursed her lips and looked at the door. Might as well go take a look. With that thought, Pei Luan made up her mind, walked to the door and raised her hand to knock. Xu Pingnan's voice came from inside. Pei Luan, is there something you need? Suppressing her inner panic, she said calmly, Master, I heard your old illness has flared up and I'm very worried, so I came to check on you after the ceremony. As soon as she finished speaking, the door gently opened. Xu Pingnan sat in the room, smiling warmly at her. I'm fine, don't worry. Come in and sit. Pei Luan entered, bowing her head in greeting. Yes, Xu Pingnan covered her mouth and pursed her lips, saying guiltily, Pei Luan, it's my fault for letting you see me in a bad light. Pei Luan quickly waved her hands, rushing to say, No, actually, Xu Pingnan lowered her eyes. Don't say it. A mistake is a mistake. After the fire passing ceremony, I will resign from my position on my own, so as not to disgrace the Li Fire sect any longer. Pei Luan called out uneasily. Master. Xu Pingnan looked up at the sky and said meaningfully, He won, and I can't let go. She waved her hand and Pei Luan dared not say more. Then Xu Pingnan continued, Now the room next door can't hear us, but we can hear them. I know you're curious why I suddenly changed my mind or why you saw him enter your uncle's room. Actually, it's easy to understand, your uncle likes him too. Pei Luan froze upon hearing this. The sect leader uncle was also in the next room, and Lu Yuan's pleading voice came through, Don't come closer, senior sister, please, I beg you to restrain yourself. Then Zhang Yuren's voice followed, Jun Zan, I'm ready, don't mind senior sister. She and the Li Fire sect have been too conservative all these years, they don't understand what love is. Actually, I've wanted to do this since we were at Baishan Courtyard. Hearing these ambiguous words, Pei Luan couldn't help blushing. Xu Pingnan rested her chin on her hand, her eyes melancholy, murmuring softly, Who says I don't understand? You haven't gotten it yet, but I already have. Pei Luan looked up at her in surprise. What? Master's tone? Could it be that she and he also? She puffed out her cheeks, curiosity surging within her. I wonder how far Master and he have gone. I really want to know. Xu Pingnan waved her hand again, and the wall immediately became blurry. The figures of the two people in the next room came into view. Pei Luan froze, her mouth slightly open. She saw the two figures in the next room pressed tightly together, the atmosphere thick with intimacy. Pei Luan's face turned completely red. What else could they be doing? This guy's desires are way too strong. How long has it been? But Xu Pingnan suddenly waved her hand, and the wall returned to normal. She sighed, saying guiltily, It was my negligence. You shouldn't have seen these things, but consider it a warning. I hope you won't repeat our mistakes. She rolled her eyes and replied softly, Pei Luan will remember Master's teachings and will not disappoint your expectations. On the other side, Zhang Yuren pressed him down into a chair and then lifted one leg to block between Lu Yuan's thighs. Lu Yuan looked at her as she leaned in, asking awkwardly, Yuren, do you really have to do this? Zhang Yuren curved her lips and said, Or should I help you instead? Lu Yuan had no choice but to admit defeat and open his mouth. A red candy was placed inside, and he chewed a few times, thinking, I shouldn't have expected a little girl raised in the Li Fire sect to do anything outrageous. Her little head doesn't even have those concepts. Zhang Yuren's eyes sparkled as she asked, Is it good? He gave a dry laugh. Very good. She then brought out a basket of fresh fruit, saying cheerfully, Hee, I grew these myself. Senior sister wanted to help, but I refused. Lu Yuan's eyes widened at the basket of fruit, thinking that if he brought this basket to the mortal world it might rival the Queen Mother of the West's peaches, even granting longevity to mortals. Zhang Yuren picked up a piece of fruit and brought it to his lips. Ah, Lu Yuan awkwardly opened his mouth and took a bite, chewing as he asked, You grew them yourself? Why? She peeled an apple and laughed happily. All for you, of course. Zhang Yuren held up the apple piece and poked his face angrily. Who told you to call me lazy? Saying I can't tell the 5 grains apart, only know how to study those esoteric theories and don't understand even the most basic, simplest things. What do you think now? He gave a thumbs up, praising the sect leader's majesty. Zhang Yuan was a bit dissatisfied. It was too perfunctory. Lu Yuan scratched his face, his gaze darting away as he said, "Actually, I don't know how to grow these things either. I just said that to annoy you." Zhang Yuan rolled her eyes upon hearing this, then pounced on him, pounding his chest with her fists. "I'll kill you. I'll kill you." Lu Yuan grinned and said, restrain yourself, sect leader, please restrain yourself." After venting her anger, Zhang Yuan pouted and said, "Since you've been obedient, I'll help you keep it from senior sister. She's too conservative for not letting you into the forbidden ground. Just follow your own plan from now on. If any other elder finds out, I'll stop them. Consider it an apology for deceiving you back then, but you have to come back alive." With that, she burrowed into his arms and hugged him tightly. Back in her room, Pei Luan lowered her head in thought. It seemed Lu Yuan wouldn't be coming back tonight. She just hadn't expected that something like this had happened between her uncle and him. The next day, she let out a soft breath, thinking, "I'm still in good shape today." Could it be because of dual cultivation with Lu Yuan? Just then a hand waved in front of her eyes, startling her so much that she froze. Lu Yuan sat on the bed and said, "Awake?" Pei Luan turned back joyfully. "No you," but she suddenly stopped, quickly covering her mouth. "I can't say that. Didn't you sleep in Uncle's room last night?" Lu Yuan seemed to guess, pulling her hand and drawing her into his arms. "Did you go to your master's room last night?" Seeing her silent, he tightened his arm around her slender waist. "You should already know about my relationship with your little uncle, right?" Pei Luan turned her head away, muttering softly, "No I don't. Who knows what your relationship with my little uncle is?" Lu Yuan laughed. "Oh, so you're jealous." He pressed his face against her chest, looking up at her. "Want to know what your little uncle and I did last night?" Pei Luan immediately turned her face away, saying bluntly, "No." Then he pulled out her belly band, raising an eyebrow. "No? Then I won't give it back today." He squinted, holding the item. "Think carefully, do you want to know or not?" Pei Luan had no choice but to answer, "Yes." "Give me back my belly band." Lu Yuan said slowly, "Your little uncle and I have already discussed abolishing the Li Fire sect's rules." Pei Luan tilted her head in surprise. "What?" Lu Yuan continued, "After the fire passing ceremony, if I'm still alive, she will abolish the rules forbidding romance and marriage in the Li Fire sect." Pei Luan asked in confusion, "Abolish the rules?" A vague unease stirred within her, and a thought surfaced. This matter, the internal strife of the Jade Void Dao sect, is the Li Fire sect about to start reforming too? Lu Yuan squinted and said, "Your little uncle has had this idea for a long time, but the conservative faction within your Li Fire sect is too strong, so it's been shelved. Think carefully. Haven't her previous decisions all inadvertently or intentionally leaned in this direction?" She pursed her lips and nodded. "Indeed." Lu Yuan stepped forward and wrapped his arm around her waist, continuing, "So why did she finally make up her mind this time? Some things aren't convenient for me to say now. When it's over, you'll know naturally. For now, just follow the plan I laid out." She blushed slightly and replied softly, "I understand." Pei Luan suddenly turned back and asked, "So you and little uncle just talked like that all night?" Lu Yuan turned away, pretending to be angry, and said, "Don't worry. I didn't touch your little sect leader, and she didn't give me the chance." Pei Luan suddenly froze and said, "The true disciple qualification competition for the fire passing ceremony is about to start. I need to change clothes. You go out first." Hearing this, he turned back to look at her, raised an eyebrow, and plopped back down on the bed, saying bluntly, "I can't handle your little uncle, but can I handle you? Today I'm staying right here to watch you change." Pei Luan's face turned bright red. At the fire passing ceremony venue, both Zhang Yuan and Xu Pingnan were watching him. Jun Zan. Xu Pingnan smiled smugly to herself. With Jun Zan's strategy, victory was certain. As expected, announcements rang out one after another. Pei Luan wins, Pei Luan wins, Pei Luan takes first place. Thunderous applause erupted around them, and Lu Yuan let out a soft sigh of relief. Zhang Yuan sat in her chair, resting her chin on her hand, smiling at him. Xu Pingnan was happy for her disciple. "My disciple has finally grown up. I'm very pleased." As soon as the competition ended, Pei Luan ran to Lu Yuan's side. "It's all thanks to your guidance." Lu Yuan smiled and said, "It also depends on your own strength." The people around applauded warmly. "Congratulations, senior sister, on becoming the new true disciple, truly worthy of being senior sister." Lu Yuan seemed to feel her gaze and turned to look. Seeing her expression, Lu Yuan couldn't help thinking, she doesn't look happy for her disciple. It's more like the sadness before a farewell, but soon he dismissed the thought. Maybe he was overthinking it. How could Xu Pingnan leave the Li Fire sect? Just then, the elder stood up, raised his hand to signal, and opened the forbidden ground. The sect's forbidden ground slowly opened under the gaze of the entire crowd. Lu Yuan stood nearby, secretly calculating, as long as the forbidden ground is fully open, from this close distance, I can easily hide my tracks and rush in quickly. Even if I'm discovered, it'll only be for a moment. Xu Pingnan suddenly spoke. "Elders, please wait." He turned his head to look at her, a sense of foreboding rising in his heart. Xu Pingnan took a deep breath and solemnly announced, "I have something to report to you all." Pei Luan stood nearby, and Lu Yuan quickly moved closer to say, "I forgot to tell you," Master said after the fire passing ceremony. At the same time, Xu Pingnan's firm voice rang out, "I have decided to resign from my position as elder from today and leave the Li Fire sect." The elder was stunned and exclaimed, "What?" The disciples looked at her and murmured among themselves. Xu Pingnan lowered her head. "I have failed the sect because I have developed feelings for someone. I am too ashamed to face you all, so I am voluntarily resigning. This is the best decision." Zhang Yoren, who had been sitting quietly, suddenly stood up and demanded sharply, "Senior sister, who is it?" Xu Pingnan's expression darkened. "Has it come to this? Do you still need me to say it out loud?" She smiled faintly, recalling his image. This might create chaos for him, perhaps buying him a little more time. Xu Pingnan closed her eyes, resolved. Lu Yuan, she thought to herself, this should all come to an end. The disciples grew anxious upon hearing this. "Who is Lu Yuan?" The elder, hearing her say this, quickly tried to dissuade her. "Elder Xu, this is no small matter, not something to joke about. The fire passing ceremony is more important now. Let's discuss it after it's over." The people in the hall also showed dissatisfaction. How foolish, how utterly foolish. Questions poured into her ears. What exactly does Elder Xu want to do? Resign? Why resign? She's developed feelings. Violating the sect rules. Who is it? Lu Yuan. Who is Lu Yuan? Just a few days ago, there were rampant rumors about a despicable man who killed countless women, causing the entire Li Fire sect to. Seeing the crowd's reaction, the elder quickly shouted, "Quiet, quiet." She lowered her head, pursed her lips and looked at Lu Yuan. "I've done my best, now go do what you need to do." Then she immediately turned her head. "No more delays. My mind is made up and I'm not being coerced by anyone. I will leave the Li Fire sect today, but if the sect doesn't pursue past matters, I can still serve as a guest elder." Lu Yuan took the opportunity to move slowly along the wall. Zhang Yoren stepped forward and called out, "Senior sister." She lowered her head. "Is it true?" The crowd parted on both sides, staring at Zhang Yoren in slight shock. The sect leader's eyes were wide as she stared at Xu Pingnan. "Senior sister, are you and Lu in that kind of relationship? Is it to make me give up that you're doing this on purpose?" She just wanted to see how he would handle this situation. Xu Pingnan looked at her blankly, full of confusion. Why was her junior sister losing control at a time like this? Shouldn't she be playing along with me, helping Lu Yuan get into the forbidden ground smoothly? Xu Pingnan avoided her gaze and replied, "Please forgive me, sect leader. Lu Yuan and I share mutual affection. I have decided to leave the Li Fire sect. In the future I might marry him, perhaps become a good wife and mother, managing the household and raising children. I'm sorry." Zhang Yoren, upon receiving this firm answer, was deeply shaken. Clearly, one was her most cherished senior sister, the other her most beloved person. Her two favorite people loving each other should have been a happy thing. Why had it come to this? She couldn't help but laugh bitterly. "Haha, senior sister." Xu Pingnan still didn't understand but asked dizzily, "Yoren, what's wrong? Why did you ask that just now?" Only then did Zhang Yoren cover her mouth and exclaim, could it be that you really don't know about my relationship with Lu Yuan?" Zhang Yoren averted her gaze, turning her head to hide her eyes behind a cold, indifferent mask, and replied flatly, "I don't know." Xu Pingnan grew anxious. Then the hair on his body. The crowd exchanged glances, utterly confused. "Hair? What hair?" This matter on the other side. Lu Yuan had already reached Pei Luan and grabbed her wrist. Pei Luan was startled. He raised his hand to signal, and then the two turned and ran together. Xu Pingnan caught the movement from the corner of her eye. Frozen in place, she shouted, "Lu Yuan, stop!" Lu Yuan tightly gripped Pei Luan's hand and charged toward the Forbidden Grounds gate, a blue jade stone in his hand. Amid the horrified gazes of everyone, he and Pei Luan rushed inside. Xu Pingnan and Zhang Yoren both called out anxiously, "Jun Zan!" The flames in the Forbidden Grounds surged violently, and Pei Luan covered her face, crying out, "Ah, my clothes!" She struggled to calm herself, chanting a spell. Li Fire, heaven and earth, move and strengthen the body. Lu Yuan held the jade stone, channeling his true qi, and the flames immediately parted, clearing a path for them. He turned his head, took her hand, and said with a smile. Nian Failuan watched the figure steadfastly shielding her in front, the corners of her mouth lifting slightly. "Master, it's not that I don't want to, it's just that from childhood to now, no one has ever said this to me. So this is what it feels like to like someone, so happy." Lu Yuan stared straight ahead, still not forgetting to caution, "It's going to be a bit uncomfortable soon, we need to go deeper. The temperature in the forbidden area will be very high. With your cultivation level, you probably can't withstand it, and even I might not be able to hold out. If your master and junior uncle give up, we'll go back immediately. I'll go out for a bit first, then return the fire-repelling pearl to you," she asked worriedly. "If you give the pearl back to me, what will you do?" He smiled reassuringly. "Have you forgotten? I came here looking for the phoenix blood in the first place. We've come this close, how could I possibly find it? Of course I need to go deeper, it's inside there. Whether I have the pearl or not doesn't matter. If I can't find the phoenix blood, I'm doomed anyway. She nestled against his warm chest, her voice like a spoiled kitten. I'll listen to you. Xu Pingnan and Zhang Yuan arrived at the same time. Both of you, stop right there. Xu Pingnan questioned angrily. You bastard, you've been lying to me all this time. You two have been glued together for days. Was it fun fooling me? Nian Failuan's heart skipped a beat, feeling a twinge of guilt. Master, after a moment she mustered her courage and looked Xu Pingnan straight in the eyes. Master, you have feelings for him, and so do I. You could leave the Lihuo sect for him. And I can too, but you can't accept that I also like him. If you think this goes against moral principles, then I think I might like him even more than you do because I don't care at all. Xu Pingnan frowned and said, Nonsense, how can it be the same? I like him, and you like him too. Am I supposed to be on the same side as you? Nian Failuan hugged her arms and pouted, realizing it was her master being jealous, just like a few days ago when she was jealous of her junior uncle. Xu Pingnan blushed and quickly retorted, Disobedient disciple, that's not true. Zhang Yuan, standing nearby, asked in confusion, Senior sister, when did you ever get jealous of me? She waved her hands repeatedly and answered with a dry laugh. No, Failuan added, you haven't gotten him yet, but I've already tried once. Xu Pingnan grew more irritated and shouted, Stop talking. Lu Yuan watched the master and disciple momentarily at a loss for words. Zhang Yuan asked awkwardly, Are you okay? Xu Pingnan's face was bright red as she lowered her head and stammered, Senior sister, Failuan, shut up quick. Nian Failuan looked triumphant, covering her mouth with a light laugh. Master, you've taught me since I was little to be honest, so why can't you face yourself now? Zhang Yuan stared at Nian Failuan, while Lu Yuan just covered his mouth looking amused. Xu Pingnan finally couldn't take it anymore and had to admit, Fine, I said it, I'm jealous. I want him all to myself. Zhang Yuan, unwilling to give in, also shouted, How can you two do this? I was here first. She turned to look at Xu Pingnan. Senior sister, so you've been jealous of me all along. You used to let me have everything. Xu Pingnan couldn't meet her eyes and turned away, mumbling, This is different. Besides, I thought you already knew and were trying to compete with me. While no one was watching, she grabbed Nian Failuan's hand and ran off. Xu Pingnan shouted after them, That's not a place for you two to go. Zhang Yuan also chased after them to stop them. The fire-repelling pearl can't withstand such high temperatures either. Lu Yuan curled his lips and left only one sentence. Enjoy life while you can, don't let the golden cup face the moon empty. You two stop arguing. Whatever it is, we'll talk about it when I come back alive. Xu Pingnan suddenly froze, opened her mouth but couldn't say a word, just staring blankly as the two figures disappeared into the sea of fire. Zhang Yuan stood behind her and softly called, Senior sister. Xu Pingnan hugged her. Let's go, we'll settle the score with him when he comes out. Zhang Yuan softly replied, If he dares to take Failuan in too, then nothing bad will happen. Then she clenched her fist and pouted, saying, When he comes out, we'll lock him up. Let's see if he still dares to be so arrogant. Xu Pingnan turned and walked out, muttering under her breath, How did this hot-blooded kid turn out like this? Zhang Yuan pouted and whispered, Senior sister. But before she could finish, Xu Pingnan scowled and flicked her forehead hard. Ouch, Xu Pingnan asked angrily. You still dare to call me senior sister? You called me out in the middle of the night and pinned me to the chair. The two stared at the blazing sea of fire before them, both stunned. He shoved the fire-repelling pearl into her hand and carefully instructed. The pearl doesn't have much power left. Quickly condense your life fire. When it's time, don't wait for me, just run straight out. Then he patted her shoulder to reassure her. Master and your junior uncle won't make things hard for you. At worst, blame me. Say I pursued you because of my higher cultivation and you had no choice. They'll definitely side with you and scold me. Nian Failuan listened and said helplessly, What kind of plan is that? She looked at the pearl in her hand, frowned, her face pale, and hesitated before saying this. Then she suddenly turned back to look at his retreating figure and called out worriedly, Lu Yuan. By then, Lu Yuan was already coughing up blood, but his gaze remained firm as he charged deeper. As he ran, he calculated silently. Breaking through this sea of fire had already drained a lot of his spiritual power, and he had to protect Nian Failuan on top of that. It wasn't strictly necessary, but seeing her so happy made it worth it. Enjoy life while you can. Only someone about to die could act so recklessly, right? What did he mean by about to die? Once he found the little phoenix, he'd have enough blood to survive. He charged forward, pulling a spirit pill from his chest, looking at the pill. He remembered hearing that the relics left by the Vermilion Bird could sense the phoenix's presence, though not very accurately. By now his clothes were burned to tatters. He stood in the sea of fire looking around, but he was nearing the Nirvana Secret Realm. If this thing didn't work now, it would be a disgrace to its name. The further he went, the weaker he became. Suddenly a red cloud swept over his head. Before he could react, his legs gave way, he slipped and he fell flat. Just then a hand reached out to support his waist. He gently fell into the soft embrace of a young girl. She carefully set him down and murmured, "Who are you?" She wrapped her wings around him. "I'm sorry, I'll take responsibility." Her role, Ling Guang, 5-star, gender, female, title, Vermilion Bird Sovereign, true phoenix in a cage swapping heaven and earth, level spirit beast, status Nirvana weakness, attribute interface click to view. By then, Lu Yuan had fallen into a pitch-black space, his consciousness barely holding on. He finally couldn't take it anymore. Dead? Transmigrated again? Otherwise how could I hear such a bizarre voice, logically? Isn't that my line? Holding his splitting head, he sat up abruptly, glanced around and suddenly saw a pair of red wings. Then he looked up at the girl before him, reached out to touch her and called out in disbelief, "Ling Guang." Ling Guang tilted her head blankly and asked, "Are you calling me? Is that my name?" He raised a hand to rub his head. Wait. Lu Yuan held his head, looking dejected. "It's over. The Nirvana failed. Has the little phoenix lost her memory?" He opened the system interface, looked at the information and stroked his chin in thought. Level, Spirit Beast, 3 question marks, status, Nirvana normal. He squinted, annoyed. What do these 3 question marks mean? Then he pursed his lips and thought to himself, if I can't tell, there's only one possibility. Her level has exceeded the game's limit, reaching the peak of the Mahayana stage above level 90. But that's impossible. Since ancient times, only Xie Qian has reached the Mahayana stage and then chose to seal himself and stay in the mortal world. The other possibility is that her level is unstable, and this broken system can't judge accurately, so it only shows unknown Nirvana. Right, before I passed out I think I caught a glimpse of it. The system showed weakness then, but now it's normal. That means the Nirvana isn't fully complete, or something went wrong along the way, preventing her memory and strength from fully recovering. Ling Guang still looked at him in confusion, finally unable to resist poking Lu Yuan. "Do you know me?" He curled his lips. "Is this the butterfly effect too?" Lu Yuan pressed her to sit down and explained seriously, "Your name is Ling Guang. You are the Vermilion Bird Sovereign among the 4 symbols. You are also a phoenix, the king of all birds. The first Vermilion Bird Sovereign was your mother. She fell during the demon tide after that. You inherited her name and that responsibility all the way to now." She pouted as she digested this information, then looked at him curiously. "Since that's the case, I'm Ling Guang, then who are you?" She leaned in, cupped his face and said, "The moment I saw you, I felt so familiar and close. You must be someone very important to me." He remained calm and said directly, "My name is Lu Yuan, courtesy name Junxuan." "I'm your husband." Ling Guang was puzzled. "Husband?" He pointed at her playfully and teased, "Yes, you're my 38th concubine." Then he changed the subject. "Oh right, why did you apologize to me earlier? And what did you mean by take responsibility?" He suddenly stopped. His arm dropped and he collapsed weakly. Lu Yuan froze, his whole body drained of strength. Ling Guang's wings immediately extended to support him. He looked at her weakly and asked, "What happened while I was unconscious? I feel like I've been completely hollowed out." Ling Guang blushed and explained awkwardly, "Well, when I was at the final stage of Nirvana, my internal energy surged, and I was about to reshape my body." He raised an eyebrow. "And then," Ling Guang covered her mouth again, shyly saying, "Then you ran in. The moment I saw you, I felt so close to you, I couldn't help it. I'm sorry, I'll take responsibility. But since you're already my husband, it should be fine, right?" He looked like he'd been drained dry and asked wide-eyed, "How many times did you reshape?" Ling Guang coughed blurtedly, resting her chin on her hand and rolling her eyes as she recalled, "Because each time there was a reaction and I was injured too, I had to consume it bit by bit. About 700. He leaned in and asked, 70 or 80? Ling Guang blinked and replied playfully, 700. He was struck as if by lightning, rolled his eyes and passed out. Lu Yuan came to and asked, "Are you done with your Nirvana? I mean the upper half," he thought to himself. Basically, after a phoenix's Nirvana, it's like a newborn baby, already female in form. Ling Guang mused, "Besides the essence used to aid my Nirvana, there's a lot outside that hasn't been digested. If it accumulates, it might block the meridians, but it's fine. As long as I do it like before, I can slowly digest it." He lay weakly in Ling Guang's arms. "Well, this is my own doing, I can't escape it." Seeing his grim expression, Ling Guang leaned in and asked uneasily, "Husband, did I do something wrong?" Hearing the word husband, he could only force a smile, then looked at her sincerely and said, "You didn't do anything wrong. I was wrong. This is my duty." Hearing this, Ling Guang relaxed and smiled. Then he tilted his head to look at her. "But you have to follow the rules, understand?" Ling Guang was a bit confused. "Rules?" He closed his eyes and solemnly declared like this, "You're my 38th concubine. Do you know what that means?" Ling Guang was full of question marks. "Huh? Ranked 38th, he squinted, watching her reaction, and continued, "Without rules, nothing can be accomplished. With you, there are 38 people. Assuming 2 a day, it would take 19 days to get to you, understand? As a concubine, you need to act like one. No fighting, more tolerance." Ling Guang scratched her face and looked at him blankly. But right now I'm the only one by my husband's side and there won't be anyone else for the next 38 days. Lu Yuan looked at her and couldn't help thinking, isn't she just a phoenix? How is she so quick-witted and sharp-minded? He put his hands behind his head and said, even though they're not here now, rules are still rules. You can't erase their positions just because no one's around, right? I treat all of them equally. Even if they're not here in my heart, they're still with me now. Ling Guang looked a bit downcast and lowered her head. I understand. After lying down for a while, he regained some strength and sat up. Looking at his clothes, he muttered, this outfit is ruined. Fortunately, the sleeve universe formation hadn't failed. As soon as he spoke, he raised his hand to set the formation, and the next moment he took out a new set of clothes and changed into them, looking fresh and handsome again. In his hand he held a small egg emitting golden light. Lu Yuan sighed and sat back down. Ling Guang leaned in to look at what he was holding. This golden crow is really bright. She picked up the small egg and it immediately made a sound. Lu Yuan frowned. So this thing can make noise? Why doesn't it make noise when I hold it? Ling Guang cradled the small egg in her arms and repeated what she heard. This little one says in all its life it's never seen someone as shameless as you. Locking it in a dark place, just communicating with you is an insult to the Golden Crow clan, so it's better not to say a word. After hearing this, Lu Yuan immediately glared at the egg with a dark face. Lu Yuan reached out and said, give me that damn thing. Today we're having fried eggs. Ling Guang shielded the egg and dodged. HMPH, Lu Yuan growled. HMPH, Ling Guang had no choice. She had to hand it over. He looked at the small egg in his hand, curled his lips and said, this year is really chaotic. Even a bird dares to tattle and look down on me. The first time I saw you, this stinky egg, I even figured out how to control the fire. Today I can finally fulfill that old wish. Ling Guang prepared to start a fire. Hearing this, the egg immediately felt wronged. But when it turned its head and saw Ling Guang actually getting ready to light a fire, it burst into loud crying. Chirp, chirp. Lu Yuan laughed as he looked at the egg in his hand. Isn't that great? Actually, at first I was thinking about what kind of bird food to buy. I was just teasing you. It hugged its face and glared at Lu Yuan in resentment. In all its years it had never seen such a shameless person. But on the surface it could only weakly chirp a few times. Chirp, chirp. He tossed the egg to her and asked calmly, how long have I been in this secret realm? Ling Guang carefully held the small egg and replied, I don't know, I didn't keep track of time. She looked up and made a rough estimate, but I can calculate it based on each reshaping. Each reshaping takes about 15 minutes. If it was 700 times total, then it's been about 8 days. Lu Yuan was a bit surprised. He paused and murmured, 8 days. 7 days and 7 nights have passed. Why am I still alive? Oh, with phoenix blood that's nothing. So you're saying I died and came back, lived and died again, all kept alive by phoenix blood. Does that count as a bond of life and death? After a moment of collapse he said dejectedly, forget it, even if I dig to the bottom, this question won't have an answer, but 7 days isn't long. I thought it had been a month. I didn't expect only 7 days. By now, Nirvana should have gotten the second life flame and come out. I wonder how things are going with the Lihuo sect. But according to the Lihuo sect, 7 days ago, the sect members shouted in unison as the sect leader and elder Shu came out. Shu Pingnan and Zhang Yoren stood side by side on the platform. Shu Pingnan announced, the villain has been slain and Nirvana is safe. Hearing this, everyone's faces broke into relaxed smiles. Zhang Yoren lowered her head in thought for a moment, then said, I have something to announce. The people below were slightly startled, their gazes fixed on her. 7 days later, Nirvana sighed softly. She had already obtained the second life flame. The sect's disciples gathered in small groups, arguing incessantly, insisting that the sect rules could not be abolished. I disagree, absolutely not. Who do you think you are? The sect leader said they should be abolished. Just then a red light flashed across the hall's roof. Flames burst open and a slender arm appeared. The newcomer was Ling Guang. Everyone's eyes widened and they stammered in shock. Phoenix. Those behind immediately exchanged glances and murmured, why would a phoenix come out of the forbidden area? The Nirvana Secret Realm has long been abandoned. Could it have been used twice? Amid the exclamations and whispers, Ling Guang's expression still held a hint of confusion. Everyone stared at her with wide eyes. Did she come out of the forbidden area after completing Nirvana? If so, this truly marks the beginning of the Lihuo sect's revival. At that moment, Lu Yuan slowly walked over to Ling Guang. Seeing him appear, Shu Pingnan could no longer contain his curiosity. But who is that man standing behind the Divine Lord? And what's with the egg in his hand? It shouldn't be, it can't be that. Only 7 days. Suddenly, a tremor shook the ground. People panicked and shouted, something's wrong. The secret realm is collapsing. Retreat quickly. Shu Pingnan and Zhang Yoren immediately reacted. Lead everyone out. Scatter. Leave the hall. After everyone evacuated the hall, flames shot up into the sky. Watching the 4 pillars of fire drill into the clouds like drills, everyone was stunned. That elder also looked over and murmured, the phoenix's Nirvana, brilliant as a shooting star. Ling Guang walked out, her gaze sweeping over the crowd with pride. The elder immediately fell to his knees with a thud, cupping his hands respectfully. "Welcome, Vermilion Bird Divine Lord. This unworthy disciple of the Lihuo sect is overjoyed." The disciples behind were dumbfounded, momentarily unresponsive. They looked up at Ling Guang again, thinking to themselves, one of the 4 divine beasts, vanished for 1,000 years. Such a powerful ally, if not now, when? The rest immediately knelt in unison, loudly proclaiming, "Welcome, Vermilion Bird Divine Lord." Xu Pingnan muttered to himself. Lu Yuan, someone sharp-eyed, noticed Xu Pingnan and Zhang Yoren's gaze and was filled with doubt. Lu Yuan, the sect leader, and Elder Xu keep staring at that man. "Yeah, who is that man?" Everyone stared at him and started murmuring again. "Don't you think he looks familiar?" "Yeah, I think he looks familiar too." "Him, isn't he Lu Yuan?" "Lu Yuan, it really seems like him." The disciple beside him changed expression and looked back at those behind. "Is that the Lu Yuan Elder Xu mentioned having emotional entanglements with?" Xu Pingnan pursed his lips, suppressing the discomfort churning in his chest. Lu Yuan frowned and gave Ling Guang a look, signaling her to follow his lead. She raised her hand and said, "All of you, rise." Xu Pingnan finally couldn't help but ask, "May I ask the Divine Lord, what is your relationship with the man behind you?" Zhang Yoren quickly stepped forward and tugged at his sleeve. "Hey!" Nifailuan covered her mouth, eyes wide with excitement. The show was about to begin. Ling Guang's eyes sparkled. "The Lord is my hus." Before she finished, she froze and quickly corrected herself. Mr. Zhan Jun was entrusted by Fusong Si to protect my Nirvana at the risk of his life. I have noted his merit and bestowed upon him phoenix blood." That elder widened his eyes in surprise. "Fusong Si," he lowered his head in thought. "The Golden Crow clan of Fusong Si shares the same origin as the phoenix. It makes sense they'd send someone to protect the phoenix's Nirvana." Xu Pingnan also awkwardly lowered his head. "So that's the reason. I was overthinking it. Even if he were extraordinary, he couldn't have any connection with the Vermilion Bird Divine Lord. And falling in love in 7 days is too absurd." At that moment, Lu Yuan stepped forward gracefully. "I apologize for concealing my identity and troubling your sect these past days, but I wish to thank a few people and I ask the Divine Lord to consider it." Seeing his polite and distant demeanor, Ling Guang was still a bit dazed. "Oh," Lu Yuan continued, "Failuan once helped me, and Elder Xu and sect leader Zhang also aided me. I hope to seek a reward for them." Ling Guang then smiled and nodded. "Not bad. What characters are engraved on that jade pendant?" Nifailuan stared blankly at the jade pendant floating before her, murmuring, "What's going on?" She leaned closer, thinking to herself. This jade pendant not only actively absorbs phoenix blood but also reveals the character Feng. In the Lihuo sect, the character Feng is only associated with an ancestor, Feng Feifeng. The sect disciples also stared blankly at the pendant, wondering if it was a relic the ancestor hadn't passed down. But why had it fallen into Failuan's hands? The next second another pattern appeared on the pendant. A mandarin duck, clearly a woman's item. Hearing this, Chen Chu said, "But the ancestor was a man. What's going on?" Nifailuan quickly stepped forward to take the pendant. Looking at it, she raised an eyebrow in surprise. This pendant has words on it." That elder frowned and quickly asked what they were. Nifailuan looked at the pendant and read aloud, "Phoenix, O Phoenix, return to your homeland, roaming the 4 seas seeking your mate. Not meeting one, where to go? Why not become a pair of mandarin ducks soaring together in flight?" Several disciples behind exchanged glances, sighing that it was a tender love poem. Xu Pingnan and Zhang Yoren both fell silent. That elder also repeatedly denied it. "No, impossible. It absolutely cannot be the ancestor's relic." Lu Yuan rested his chin, frowning in thought. So the leader of those 3 characters was actually a traitor, and even left descendants, Nifailuan added. "Also it says to Ni Yan." Lu Yuan twitched the corner of his mouth into a smile. "A woman surnamed Ni hasn't even done anything, and my mind has already conjured up a melodramatic love story." Zhang Yoren murmured softly, "Ni Yan." She took out a book and began flipping through it. After a moment she spoke. She was the ancestor's 342nd Dao partner, and the only mortal. The book records that the ancestor initiated the breakup to avoid the pain of the immortal-mortal divide, which sounds reasonable. But what if Ni Yan was already pregnant with his child at the time? As a mortal, Ni Yan thought the ancestor despised her mortal status. Later, when she discovered she was pregnant, she didn't dare tell him. Under societal pressure, she ultimately chose to live in obscurity. What was the ancestor doing then? He was busy romancing his 343rd Dao partner. So the truly heartless one was the ancestor himself. Even he couldn't avoid becoming the kind of person he most despised. What meaning does the sect rule have then? That elder was still skeptical after hearing this, and hesitated. But this jade pendant can't prove Nifailuan is the ancestor's descendant. Xu Pingnan sighed and said, "There's one way to prove it, the ancestor's shrine." Lu Yuan pursed his lips, thinking that Zhang Yuren and Xu Pingnan wanted to use this opportunity to completely abolish the sect rules once and for all. With that thought, he turned to Ling Guang and suggested, "Since the Divine Lord is here today, why not ask her to bear witness?" She smiled and nodded in agreement. "All right." Xu Pingnan turned back. Chen Chu said, "Divine Lord, after proving Ni Failuan is Feng Feifeng's descendant, abolish the Lihuo sect's rules." In a grand hall, everyone sat down, all silently staring at each other. Xu Pingnan took a deep breath, suppressing his anger. Beside him, Zhang Yuren glared at the person opposite. Lu Yuan forced a smile to hide his discomfort. Under the table, Ni Failuan's fair hand rested on his leg. Lu Yuan glanced at her, anger flickering in his eyes. "Ni Failuan, since things came to light, this little pervert has become more and more brazen." Xu Pingnan took a sip of water, trying to calm himself. Meanwhile, Zhang Yuren puffed out her cheeks, clearly displeased. Finally, she couldn't hold back and suddenly stood up, turning to Ling Guang. "Divine Lord, where did you get that egg?" "Over here." Ni Failuan and Lu Yuan were entangled in ambiguity, so they had to turn and look at the two of them. Ling Guang was startled and replied happily, "My husband gave it to me." Zhang Yuren glared at Lu Yuan and shouted, "I knew it." Lu Yuan laughed dryly and waved his hands repeatedly. Chen Chu said, "No, this egg was actually brought back by me from Fusang Sea." Zhang Yuren was so angry she was practically fuming. She slammed the table. "Is the problem the egg? Don't try to dodge the issue." He turned back, helplessly sticking out his tongue, thinking, "Damn, no wonder she's the sect leader. Her logic is too clear, can't avoid it." Then he turned and looked at her seriously, explaining, "This egg is the golden crow true yang. We need to start from the origin of the four symbols in ancient chaos." Zhang Yuren pushed up her glasses and frowned. "Four symbols?" He grinned, proudly pointing a thumb at himself. "As expected of a bookworm girl, you need to start from the very beginning." Lu Junchuan covered his mouth and coughed lightly, suppressing the laughter rising in him. "Ahem, maybe you don't know this, but I'm an ordinary rogue cultivator, a law-abiding disciple. Baishan Academy. Our sect's only daily task is to browse the ancient fragments in Baishan Academy's library." Kang Shailan picked up her water cup and took a sip. She glanced at Zhang Yuren beside her, who was already dizzy from his rambling, her face darkening. Then she slammed the cup down on the table and walked to the front. "Enough, satisfied? Got it?" She tried to suppress her trembling body from anger and questioned Lu Junchuan. "All three of us are here. Even the Divine Lord has been coaxed by you. Are you still going to ignore it? Continue flirting with your lovers?" Zhang Yuren snapped to attention upon hearing this. She angrily threw the book in her hand at his face, cursing, trying to dodge again. Lu Junchuan caught the book without changing expression, closed it and placed it back on the table, smiling. "Every book should be carefully protected and gently treated like a lover. You said it yourself." Zhang Yuren glared at him. "Do you think I'm joking? If you don't explain clearly today, I'll..." Seeing her flustered, he chuckled and raised an eyebrow, quote, "What will you do?" Zhang Yuren lowered her eyes, pouting, "I'll HMPH, I won't talk to you." Lu Junchuan looked at them with some difficulty. "Of course I'll explain clearly, but you all know my current situation. Once I've dealt with the Yuxu Dao Sect, I'll naturally take responsibility." As soon as he finished, his expression stiffened slightly, and he muttered to himself, "Huh, why does this line feel familiar?" Then he pulled a long face, rested his chin, and continued, "As for the Vermilion Bird Divine Lord, this really isn't my fault. I was forced into it." Except for the Vermilion Bird Divine Lord, the other three stared at him with looks that screamed, "Are you kidding me?" The Vermilion Bird Divine Lord blushed, stuck out her tongue and said sheepishly, Sorry, I couldn't help it back then. My husband was unconscious and didn't understand matters between men and women, so I did some inappropriate things." Lu Junchuan crossed his arms, looking aggrieved. "See," the Vermilion Bird Divine Lord rested her chin, pondering. "But since I'm already my husband's 38th concubine, that should be fine, right?" Then she turned back innocently and asked, "By the way, what number are you?" Lu Junchuan's face turned pale, a chill running down his spine. The three unfortunate women's faces were as black as the bottom of a pot, their words echoing in his mind. "What number?" Kang Shailan shot him a cold glance. "Care to explain again, my dear Mr. Junchuan?" Lu Junchuan rolled his eyes, inwardly cursing his bad luck. He let out a dry laugh, putting on an innocent expression. "Ha, this was actually something I said to soothe her. It's not really like that." The second half he only dared to think, "Actually, the number is far more than that." Kang Shailan curled her lips. "What's the real story? You can explain more clearly. Take your time." "I'm not in a hurry." Zhang Yuren crossed her arms, glaring at him fiercely. "Even the Divine Lord you dare to. You're such a bastard." Lu Junchuan's eyes darted, thinking to himself, "What, 38? There aren't 38 people." After escaping the wrath of his three wives, he walked out with the Vermilion Bird Divine Lord. Lu Junchuan stopped and suddenly asked sideways, "Have you recovered your memory or not?" The Vermilion Bird Divine Lord was startled. "What?" He continued, walking forward, sighing. "Forget it, pretend I didn't ask. Let me tell you about your past again, maybe it'll help you remember something." "Maybe," she smiled and followed. Lu Junchuan pushed aside the previous matter and rubbed her head. Now come back with me first. On the way, I'll teach you some basics and also gather some information. The Vermilion Bird Divine Lord hugged his arm happily. Okay, wherever you go, I'll go. He pursed his lips and touched the wings on her back, thinking, if only she were really this obedient. I'm afraid this phoenix is black through and through. The Vermilion Bird Divine Lord nestled in his arms, letting out a comfortable hum. Amid the tender moment his body suddenly stiffened. Oh no, Lu Junchuan straightened up, covering his mouth with a light cough. All right, now we need to disguise ourselves first. You're too conspicuous like this. The Vermilion Bird Divine Lord touched the wings on her back, then folded them to wrap around her body. In the next moment the wings transformed into a red-orange cloak draped over her. He leaned in, looked her up and down and commented, not bad. Though red is still eye-catching among cultivators, it's already plain and not flashy. Then Lu Junchuan took out a jade pendant. My turn. He also pulled out a map. Let's see, priority on the Green Talisman ship. When it comes to intelligence and business efficiency, the Green Talisman ship is the fastest. With the Fen Tuo Demon Sect destroyed, the Yuxu Dao Sect is no longer in a state of panic. The envoy sent by Zhanhai Tower had yet to return, fueling the Third Hall's rising anger once more. The Kangming Hallmaster had likely already learned of Kai Chuncho's orders, using the Qingfu ship's interference in Yushu sect's internal affairs as a pretext. The Third Hall again pressured the representatives of the 7 factions. In the inn, he held a newspaper and muttered to himself, this Kangming Hallmaster is stalling for time. Zook Divine Lord tilted her head in confusion and asked, why is he stalling? What does he want? Lu Junchuan turned to her in surprise. You noticed too, she simply nodded. Zook Divine Lord walked to the door. Lost in thought, she said, he's avoiding cooperation with BALA Manor. Perhaps he's already sensed something wrong with him. Let's go to Wuyan Cliff to confirm. Zook Divine Lord immediately agreed. Ling Hao, who had been wandering around, suddenly heard a noise and turned around the next second. Joy lit up her face as she rushed over. Welcome back. Ling Hao threw herself into Lu Junchuan's arms, hugging him tidily. Zook Divine Lord pulled back her hood and asked foolishly, husband, who is she? He stiffened, his face turning pale. Ling Hao frowned. Her tone was full of doubt. Husband. Lu Junchuan was too startled to speak. Who is she? Zook Divine Lord squinted and chuckled behind her hand. That's right, Lu Junchuan is my husband. Though I don't remember much, we are indeed married. She stepped forward and leaned her head on his shoulder. You said we were equals. Ling Hao shot her a cold glare and demanded icily. Husband equals. Sweat beaded on Lu Junchuan's forehead as he stammered. Wait, not husband and wife. Zook Divine Lord looked at him with watery eyes. But I'm not a concubine. Lu Junchuan looked at her. He nodded. No, you're not, she continued. Then we're husband and wife. He immediately denied it. That's not how it is. Zook Divine Lord jumped up, her eyes reddening. But you said you were my husband, that we were equals. He stepped back, frantically explaining. No, I meant you, Xu Shailan, Zhang Yoran, and Wei Failuan. But he trailed off, forcing an awkward smile. Internally he was gritting his teeth and wailing. Glancing back at Ling Gao's dark expression, it's over. He pouted in grievance. Looking at Zook Divine Lord. HMPH, this phoenix is definitely black-hearted. Ling Hao reached out and gently touched his face. Those names sound familiar. The head of Lyman Sect, an elder, and one who joined you at the famous sword assembly, an old acquaintance? He nodded lightly. Yes. Ling Hao pinched his chin angrily. Lu Junchuan hurriedly tried to explain, but the reason for this was truly complicated. Ling Hao already knew the outcome. She let go and turned to leave. The reason doesn't matter. They're all in your mouth now anyway. I thought this trip might be dangerous for you, and I worried for a while, but it turns out you went to Lyman Sect and nearly cleaned out their entire sect. That's a good thing, I suppose. Seeing her anger, he chuckled dryly. Haha, probably. Ling Hao lifted his chin and added, You've gained a lot in a short time, but don't push your luck, otherwise I won't be so lenient. One day I'll lock you up, in the cellar. She turned and walked forward, then suddenly looked back, fixing a cold stare on Zook Divine Lord. You must be Zook Divine Lord, right? Zook Divine Lord tilted her head foolishly and replied, If my husband says I am, then I suppose I am. Lu Junchuan quickly ran over and pointed at her, explaining, Her nirvana isn't complete yet, so her memory hasn't returned. She doesn't remember anything now. Ling Hao raised an eyebrow. So what? What do we do? Ling Hao walked straight ahead, her clear voice still echoing. You're back just in time. I was about to return to Yushu to see my master and Ling Yu. He was a bit puzzled. Going back for Kai Chunchu, it seems he no longer trusts BALA Manor. Ling Hao pushed open the door and stepped lightly into the hall, speaking as she walked. He's not one to be content with the status quo. If not for Dingguan ancestors' dying obsession passing the sect leader position to my master, he would have been in power back then. In mind, methods, and cultivation, he far surpasses my master. He followed her in and asked. But Dingguan valued character most. On that alone he's unworthy. Zook Divine Lord also entered, looking dazed at the words. Lu Junchuan continued, no, treating disciples' lives as mere pawns so casually, that's not just unworthy, it's sinister and ruthless. Even throwing him into the demon cult would be too kind. Ling Hao looked worried and turned to Lu Junchuan. Many think my master is too weak and indecisive, unfit to be sect leader. He looked at her confidently. For Dingguan to entrust him with such a heavy responsibility, he must have exceptional qualities, for example. He paused, embarrassed, and coughed into his hand. For example, Jiyu Changming. I recommended him to Yuxu. Ling Hao continued deeper into the hall, leading the way. Since Kai Chunchu no longer seeks help from BALA Manor, the only ones cooperating with them now are others in the third hall. He's probably sensed BALA Manor's intentions, so he's been pretending to reflect on his mistakes and stay out of trouble. Everyone's attention has been drawn to the conflict between the third hall and the 7 factions, and BALA Manor's constant harassment. Zook Divine Lord, taking advantage of her being ahead, hugged Lu Junchuan's arm and curled into his embrace. Ling Hao seemed to sense the ambiguous atmosphere behind her and spun around. The two behind her quickly separated, putting on straight faces. Lu Junchuan's expression turned serious as he continued. So, have any spies found out what he's planning? She passed through door after door and replied calmly, Wang Chen is investigating, but I think I already know what he's up to. Hong Fu came running over happily shouting, Junchuan. The little girl hugged his neck and kissed his cheek, then slowly cast a cold glance at Zook Divine Lord. Who is she? He glanced at her and introduced her. Her name is Zook Divine Lord. Hong Fu was stunned. Zook Divine Lord. He smiled at the little girl. Does Hong Fu know about the 4 symbols? Hearing this, the little girl lifted her head proudly. Hong Fu has been studying hard lately and knows a lot. He gently kissed her forehead. Good girl. Hong Fu immediately covered her forehead and giggled, looking at her. Lu Junchuan couldn't help but sigh inwardly. If only everyone were as easy to please as Hong Fu. Zook Divine Lord stood nearby, reaching out to touch Hong Fu with only one thought in mind. So cute. Hong Fu pouted in displeasure and slapped her arm hard. Zook Divine Lord beamed at her. Hong Fu is so cute. Zook Divine Lord gave him a friendly smile but secretly transmitted a message. You bastard, I heard that. Punishment doubled. The corner of his mouth twitched. He remained silent. Then, looking at Hong Fu, he explained, Hong Fu is a puppet, at least 1,000 years old. She's not as young as she looks. Zook Divine Lord froze, leaned in to examine the puppet, and a flicker of surprise crossed her eyes. She hadn't sensed it at all. Only then did Lu Junchuan turn back to ask Ling Hao, You said you were going back to Yuxu to see your master and Ling Yu. Is Kai Chunchu going to strike at my master directly? Ling Hao pursed her lips and replied, That man is arrogant. A few days ago, my master dismissed and imprisoned him over Ling Yu's matter. He's probably resentful. Now he's planning to burn the bridge. I think he wants to kill my master and frame BALA Manor, throwing Yuxu Sect into chaos. Lu Junchuan nodded. Very likely, Ling Hao continued. In that case, we have to skip the preaching step and push him directly into that position. He suddenly froze, looking at her. Wait, Ling Yu's matter. What happened to Ling Yu? Ling Hao slowly recalled the scene. She took the full brunt of Xu Xinong's Zhao Wanfang Ranhong poison for someone else at the cost of her life. Now her mind is severely damaged, like a child's. Soon she'll have to revert to her original form and start cultivating from scratch. Lu Junchuan's face paled. Original form, Ling Hao nodded. I forgot you didn't know. My junior sister is a transformation of the 9 heavens jade moth, a kind of spirit creature. She was born with pure spiritual intelligence and no demonic aura, which makes her well suited for cultivation. At that, he remembered the fluffy thing. Then he frowned, voicing his guess. She must have rushed in to block it herself. Kai Chunchu was there too, wasn't he? Ling Hao clenched her fists. He was. Xu Xinong was targeting Kai Chunchu. Unfortunately, they overestimated Kai Chuncho's concern for Yuxu disciples. He'd rather save face than get seriously injured for a few insignificant disciples. After hearing this, he fell into thought. Someone like Kai Chunchu, who doesn't treat disciples as people, still dares to dream of becoming sect leader. After a moment, he set Hong Fu down and suggested, Let's go see. I'll go with you. Call Qiying and Wang Chen back. Have Qiying infiltrate and investigate quietly, and have Wang Chen prepare the recent intelligence. It's time to close the net, since he's so eager to climb up. I'll help him, and send him to ruin and disgrace. Ling Hao nodded. All right. Lu Junchuan coughed into his hand. I'll go save Ling Ji first and find Hu Jiji. As soon as he arrived, Hu Jiji ran over cheerfully, calling him Dad. He smiled warmly and responded, Zook Divine Lord froze at the sight. The little girl Jiji threw herself into his arms, her eyes red. Jiji missed Dad so much. Staying in the room to recover was so boring. Lu Junchuan patted her back soothingly. Soon you won't have to stay here anymore. I'm going to Yuxu Sect. This matter will be resolved soon. Jiji smiled and replied, I know. He set Hu Jiji down, puzzled. You seem a bit smaller and shorter. Jiji poked her fingers and looked down, whispering, I've lost too much essence. I can't maintain my transformed body, so I had to shrink a bit. Zook Divine Lord stood nearby, scrutinizing the little girl from head to toe. She didn't look like Lu Junquan at all, was a mountain sea spirit and of a different race. Definitely not his biological daughter. Then she pointed at Hu Jiji and asked, "Husband, is she your adopted daughter?" When he didn't answer, she asked again, "Is she your adopted daughter?" He scratched his head awkwardly. Explaining Jiji's identity was indeed troublesome. Lu Junquan stammered, and Hu Jiji stepped forward to explain herself. "Sister, Jiji is mother's adopted daughter. I just call him dad to be closer." He shuddered, feeling terrible. Hu Jiji turned and raised her hand. "Besides, dad isn't married yet. Don't call him husband." He covered his mouth, crying inside. This was no longer the innocent, cute Jiji. Zook Divine Lord tilted her head. She chuckled and stammered back, What are you talking about?" By now she was furious, her hands clenched into fists, her face pale as she watched her approach step by step. The next second, Zook Divine Lord reached out and viciously pinched the back of his neck. Lu Junquan yelped in pain. "Ow, ow, 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 ow." He grimaced, a thought crossing his mind. After this Phoenix's Nirvana, did she put all her stat points into strength? Hu Jiji ran over worriedly to support him. "Junquan, this sister is so fierce, but Phoenixes have existed since the primordial ages, gone through countless Nirvanas. At her age, can't I call her sister?" His pupils contracted as he looked at Jiji in surprise, whispering, "Logically, yes." Zook Divine Lord glanced down at her and pouted. Lu Junquan turned the little girl aside and said seriously, "But you can't count it that way, right, Jiji? Zook Divine Lord only just underwent Nirvana a few days ago. We should go by this one. And Jiji, you can't be so rude, right? Otherwise Ninth Lady will be unhappy." Zook Divine Lord looked at him sideways. "Ninth Lady?" His face turned pale and he quickly shut his mouth. Hongfu jumped out from somewhere and explained, "Ninth Lady is Jiji's mother, Hu Jineng, a white fox from Qingchu. Hongfu knows this, Jiji told me." He looked helpless, his expression sour. Hongfu ran over and asked foolishly, "Junquan, why are you covering your face?" Lu Junquan could only reply helplessly, "Nothing." Hongfu knows more and more things. "I'm happy." Zook Divine Lord clapped her hands and said sarcastically, "I see, husband is truly kind-hearted, but Jiji, husband himself said he's my husband. So I think he wants me to marry him, right, husband?" He rubbed his shoulder and nodded awkwardly. Right." Hu Jiji retorted angrily. "No, what nonsense, Dad only said that because you pinched him too hard." The two, one big and one small, glared at each other, sparks flying. Lu Junquan couldn't take it anymore and raised his hand to stop them. "Stop, both of you, be quiet." The two immediately turned to him simultaneously. Flashing innocent, harmless smiles, Lu Junquan sighed. "Sigh, let's save people first." A moment later, he and Ling Hao stood by the bed, looking at the person lying there. "You've saved her, but Lingji's cultivation was average to begin with. She'll need a long time to recover." Lu Junquan glanced down at Zook Divine Lord and Jiji and sighed. A quiet recovery would be hard. A communication artifact lit up and he raised an eyebrow. Duan Lanruo then raised her hand to open the formation, her worried voice coming through. "Ling Hao, has Junquan returned from the Nirvana Secret Realm?" He smiled and replied, "It's me." "I'm back." A clatter came from the other side as if she had been startled and knocked over a teacup. Duan Lanruo lowered her head. She pursed her lips and replied, Lu Junquan asked again, "Have you been well?" Lanruo chuckled softly behind her hand. "I'm fine, just, I missed you. What am I saying? I'm fine, just, a little worried about you. The letter has been sent. Ling Jun and Chui have been good." He nodded. "Good," Duan Lanruo continued. "The 7 factions have been suppressed for now. After all, Yuxu Sect is the top sect and its authority remains. We can't confront them head-on, but given Kai Chuncho's nature, he might act desperately. He's always been insidious and unpredictable. Even if he does make a move, if he can't be caught on the spot, he'll probably still find a loophole to escape." Lu Yunquan stood with his hands behind his back, his expression serious. So I plan to have Kai Ying scout the way first, and then let Huang Quan personally propose a big deal to him. The master of BALA Manor showing up in person, he won't suspect a thing. With Huang Quan's strength, killing Kai Chunchu on the spot would be more than enough, but doing so would be tantamount to BALA Manor declaring open war on the righteous path, which would be extremely disadvantageous for us. Luo Ruo replied, "I'll have the Sword Pavilion's people on standby at all times," giving him no chance to turn the tables. He suddenly remembered something and spoke up. "By the way, how is Yi Conky now? I heard her mother has already come to Wanjian City to find her. She hasn't caused any trouble, has she?" Luo Ruo scratched her head, hesitating as she said, "Actually, the reason I contacted you is to talk about this." Upon hearing this, he let out an exaggerated snort and asked, "What? Did she really stir up something again?" Luo Ruo denied it. No, it's not Conky." Lu Yunquan breathed a slight sigh of relief. "Then what is it?" Luo Ruo said listlessly. "It's actually Shushui." As soon as Lu Yunquan heard this, he panicked. What's wrong with Shushui? Could it be that Yi Conky didn't know how to play with the cat and made Shushui angry, triggering its nature? Luo Ruo shook her head. "No, it's not that. Their relationship is actually pretty good, he pressed more urgently. Then what's the reason? Luo Ruo sighed and said thoughtfully, it's because Shuxue stole some food. The head of the Zan Yin family is furious. He was stunned and asked back, stealing food, that's all? It's still just a kid, right? Is Conky upset because her food was taken and even my mother-in-law is angry with her? Luo Ruo lowered her eyelids, her expression serious. Yanquan, I need to tell you something. Hearing how serious her tone was, he couldn't help but tense up. What is it? Luo Ruo continued. Actually, back then, I sent the Golden Scale Guard to follow you in order to refine the Yang force from Zanyang province into a paste. That's why Yi Danqing went along with it, took that batch of paste back to hand over, and ultimately took control of the entire Zan Yin family. Lu Yanquan immediately interrupted her. Wait. He opened his mouth, his mind a blur. Golden Scale Guard, Yang Force, those are easy enough to understand, but paste and going along with it are a bit unclear, Duan Lanro said thoughtfully. Yanquan, do you understand? You won't blame me, will you? He smiled and replied, how could I? You helped me solve a major worry, how could I blame you? What happened after that? What does this have to do with Shuxue? But Duan Lanro quickly said on the other end, that kid ate all the remaining paste. Upon hearing this, he froze completely, his eyes going wide. He pressed his forehead. What the hell is this stupid dragon doing? Lu Yanquan steadied himself and asked. And now, what's the current situation? Luo Ruo pursed her lips. The head of the Yi family is very angry, but Shuxue is your cat and a great demon at the integration stage, so she can't do anything to it for now, she's just bottling up her anger. I can see her cheeks puffing up, he said, an image of a woman immediately forming in his mind. He had never actually encountered this head of the Zan Yin family in the game before, but he didn't expect her to be quite cute. The dignified head of the Zan Yin family, a mother of a child, had her things taken and could only sulk to herself. It seemed that compared to Yi Kong's spoiled willfulness, she had more of a simple, proud nature. No wonder she was outmaneuvered by Duan Lanro. After a moment of silence he cleared his throat and asked, so what do we do now? Lanro was silent. He tilted his head, his eyes welling up. No way. Are you really going to make me pay for it now? It was then that Duan Lanro spoke up. This kind of small paste that can help an integration stage cultivator take a step further isn't something you can just refine casually. You're still heading north, right? How long can you stay here? He frowned. Originally, if the matter with Yuxu Dao Sect could be resolved, I could stay for a long time, but the duel between Shen Fanqi and Pifu Luo is coming up. This major battle of the righteous path besieging the demon cult is also very important. I need to go check it out, Lanro sighed. That's the problem, there's not enough time, isn't that enough? He said thoughtfully, but not now. A few days ago, in the secret realm of the Lihuo sect, after listening to Lu Yanquan's account, she hesitated and said, then he shrugged and replied, I can't do anything about it either, unless the head of the Yi family comes to get it herself. A frustrated voice came from the other end. Then I'll come get it myself. You wait. Duan Lanro looked up at Yi Danqing and gently advised, head of the Yi family, don't be impulsive. Maybe there's another way? She gritted her teeth and cursed. Bastard, Yi Danqing calmed down and demanded. What other way is there? Where else can we find it? You said it yourself. This is the only way. Duan Lanro thought for a moment. But I can't have you go get it yourself, and Yanquan isn't convenient right now. Why not let Conky go? As she spoke, she glanced at the slightly ajar door crack. Yi Conky was startled and quickly retreated behind the door. Shuxue struggled to poke its head out and let out a meow. It turned back angrily, thinking, HMPH, I'm not stupid enough to eat just anything. It's clearly this little girl being told to hide it. After hesitating, she stepped out from behind the door. Mom, I can go find him. Yi Danqing rushed over. You? Shuxue looked disdainful, thinking, can you come back in one piece? Yi Danqing lowered her head, clenching her fists to suppress her anger. Every day it's Yanquan. Before he even made a move, you were throwing yourself at him. If you go now, won't you be devoured down to the bone? The young lady of the dignified Zan Yin family, if she has to bow her head and play small in the future, what kind of image is that? Then she straightened up and looked at Conky with a warning expression. You can't go, didn't you hear him? The Vermilion Bird Divine Lord is by his side. Everyone knows that Phoenix's temper. Right after Nirvana, it broke the restrictions of the Lihuo sect's forbidden area. It's at least back to the integration stage. If something happens to you, what will your mother do? The girl drooped her head and responded dejectedly. Yi Danqing turned around and laid out her terms. Zhang Feng, or should I call you Lu Yanquan now, if you can truly save the Zan Yin family, then I have no objection to marrying Conky to you, and the past can be written off. But don't think you can use this to gain any benefits from the Zan Yin family. This time I'm only coming for the sake of the entire family's interests. You remember this. I am Yi Danqing, the current head of the Zan Yin family and Konk's mother. If you have any improper thoughts, weigh them carefully. Otherwise, even if it costs me my life, I'll make you pay. His face darkened, a bit helpless at her words. but he stepped forward, pursed his lips, and replied, "Head of the Yi family, you jest. My feelings for Conky may not be worthy of heaven and earth's witness, but they are sincere. Back then, I unintentionally took the Zanyang province, and I hope to make amends. I have no other schemes, to put it bluntly. If I give the order now, Wanjian City and Bala Manor will obey me. The Tianshu Pavilion will also show me some face, and the demon cult's branch is under my control. With the Vermilion Bird Divine Lord by my side, at least 10 integration stage and 2 tribulation transcendent stage cultivators are stationed here. I really don't need to scheme so hard for an ironclad Zanyin family." She snorted coldly. "You know what's good for you." With that she turned and left decisively. Duan Lanruo returned to her chair and sat down, then continued, "Oh right, the head of the Yi family also said that the day Ling Hao takes over as sect leader is the same day she personally arrives at Yuxu." He watched the light of the magical artifact fade with a grim expression. Then he rubbed his temples and muttered, "Why do I feel like she's rushing to catch me in the act? It's kind of exciting, actually." As soon as he realized what he was thinking, he immediately dismissed the thought. "Exciting, my ass." Then he rubbed his nose and thought to himself, "Have I been in too many life and death battles lately that I'm starting to get addicted to this kind of thrill?" In Ling Hao's room, 4 women were sitting around a table. He had just walked over, saying there were many matters to decide, but when he saw the 4 women he was still taken aback. The Vermilion Bird Divine Lord was the first to react. She turned back and smiled at him. "Husband, you're here. I didn't know you had 2 daughters." Upon hearing this, Lu Yunchuan was slightly stunned and gave a dry laugh. "I didn't know I had daughters back then either." The Vermilion Bird Divine Lord gave him a cold glance. 700 times, he walked over and rubbed Hu Ji's head. "It seems you've already met." The little girl tightly hugged his waist, closed her eyes, and softly called out, "Dad." The master of Bala Manor propped her chin on her hand, complaining discontentedly. "Hugging and clinging, all sticky and sweet, I can't stand it." She glared fiercely at the father-daughter pair. Ling Hao and the Vermilion Bird Divine Lord both looked over coldly at the same time. Hu Ji clung tightly to Lu Yunchuan, squeaking. Both of them stared at her with sharp eyes. The master of Bala Manor was startled, lowered her head and blushed, cursing inwardly. "Damn it, I got used to it without realizing." She jerked her head away and stammered, It's just the truth, what's there to hide?" "Scare Lu." She hugged her arms and sighed, thinking, "I wanted to curse him for being indecent, but I don't have any authority at all." Annoying. He slowly walked up behind her and smiled. "It's only been a few days, Manor Lord, and you're getting cuter and cuter." "You're breaking the atmosphere," Ling Hao said. "I've already told them everything." Using the joint failure of the demon cult and Bala Manor to find the Nirvana Secret Realm as a pretext and pinning the whole thing on the Yuxu Dao Sect should be a good excuse. The master of Bala Manor said thoughtfully, "2 Nirvanas, that really fits Bala Manor's usual cautious style." Lu Yunchuan stepped forward and waved his hand. "When do we set off?" Ling Hao walked to the window, pursed her lips and said, "Since we know Kai Chanchu has run into trouble, we can't delay any longer. We'll set off immediately to transfer to Zhang country." Old Chen stood in the forest and sighed. "Alas, I never thought my Zan lineage would end up like this. How long has he been out?" He raised his eyes and murmured, "Xie Manor." Just then the door suddenly opened and a young man walked out. "My master invites you in." Old Chen was startled and quickly stepped forward to inquire, "May I ask, sir, are you the White Tiger Divine Lord?" The young man scratched his head, looked at him sideways and muttered to himself, "Just a gatekeeper. Why so many questions? Aren't you the master's guest now? Why ask me?" He suddenly thought of something and his expression changed. "Damn it, is this another troublemaker like Lu Yunchuan last time?" Then he stepped forward, thumping his chest and introducing himself. "I don't know any White Tiger Divine Lord. My name is Xiaoying and I'm just the gatekeeper of Xie Manor." Old Chen subconsciously repeated the name, Xiaoying, then he fell into thought. Xiaoying, Xiaoyan, Western Xiaoyan. The place where the sun and moon set corresponding to the White Tiger and also matching the west. Did that sage even account for this when naming the White Tiger's descendant? Seeing the old man silent for so long, Xiaoying urged, "The master has been waiting a long time, are you coming in or not?" When the master gets angry it's terrifying. Old Chen smiled and nodded repeatedly. I'm coming in now." Old Chen followed Xiaoying inside. Xie Qian was playing the zither. Sensing someone's arrival he opened his eyes and smiled faintly. "Long time no see, Chen Xuanbei." Old Chen squinted at him, then bowed respectfully in return. "Greetings, Saint Xie. I dare not presume to be called senior." Xie Qian listened, slowly stood up and said, "What's there to be undeserving of? Just accept it, I'm just a mortal now." Old Chen squinted, thinking to himself, a mortal? Who would believe that? Xie Qian looked outside, as if casually asking, "What brings you here today?" Old Chen didn't beat around the bush and answered directly, "I calculated that the descendant of Xuanwu is here. I wanted to see if I could get Xuanwu to return to its place. If the saint is already here and has his own plans, then I won't interfere." Xie Qian turned around and waved his hand. "I'm tired of worrying about things for you all." Then he pointed toward the mountain path opposite. See that manor on the mountain? There's a girl named Guc in there. She's the one you're looking for. Among the 4 spirits, only Xuanwu's lineage is almost broken, but because I don't want to ascend, I had to hide myself in the mortal world, sever the vague karmic ties on my own and not show myself too much. Now that you're here I can rest easy, but when you see Guc, remember to tell her that her brother Yunchuan has already agreed to this. Old Chen cupped his hands in thanks. I understand, farewell. He leaned on his staff and continued into the forest, but his mind was in a mess. Something feels off. How could a saint toy with people? But this brother Yunchuan must be very important to Guc, right? He suddenly froze. Yunchuan, Lu Yunchuan, isn't that the one who's been making a name for himself and causing trouble everywhere lately? He couldn't help but mutter under his breath. How is it that I run into him no matter where I go? On the other side, Xie Qian handed a token to Xiaoying. Go to the Yuxu Dao Sect for me and congratulate the new sect leader on his succession. Xiaoying bowed respectfully. Yes, before he left, Xie Qian carefully instructed, the road is dangerous. Remember to walk slowly and it's best to reveal your true form in the forest. The situation is chaotic now, and it's getting more dangerous. Xiaoying bowed. Yes, but as soon as he turned around he was so moved his eyes welled up. Master really does care about me. After all these years as a gatekeeper, even if I have no great merit, I have my share of hard work, transferring to the Yuxu Dao Sect. Lu Yunchuan followed behind Ling Hao, his mind a jumble of thoughts. If it weren't for the accident at the Huling River, they would have arrived long ago. Instead, he got locked in a dungeon by the senior sister, wasted 4 months going in circles, and ended up back here. Ling Hao suddenly stopped and turned her head. We're almost there. Ling Yu usually likes to run outside, so her room has always been kept, and there aren't many defenses. Lu Yunchuan snapped back to attention, hurriedly catching up. She mentioned before that when she was little, Ling Yu often ran out to play, and she even had a few fights with her. Ling Hao's face reddened, thinking to herself, he even remembers the casual things I said. What a lovesick fool. But she refused to admit defeat verbally. You even told him about that kind of thing. Seeing she didn't answer, Lu Yunchuan stood beside her and continued with a smile. Back then, I never imagined you had such an adorable side. I'd really like to meet the younger you. She lowered her head, avoiding his gaze. All right, stop talking. When they arrived, Lu Yunchuan pushed the door open and walked straight in. The old man in the room turned to look at them. Lu Junchuan smiled faintly. Senior Xin Yi, that saved us quite a bit of effort. Xin Yi's gaze fell on him as she stood by his side, looking at Ling Hao with confusion. The 3 of them entered the room and sat down. Xin Yi said dejectedly, Kai Chunchu is stubborn and extreme. He's nearly fallen into demonic possession several times recently. If the Jade Void falls into his hands, the consequences would be disastrous. I no longer have the strength to continue as sect leader. If Ling Hao could fulfill my wish, that would be for the best, but that child of Ling Yu, Lu Junchuan understood and suddenly stood up. She's been mentally clouded by poison. I just thought of a way. He walked over to Ling Yu. Do you remember who I am? The little girl pouted, thought for a moment, hummed in acknowledgement, then clapped her hands happily. Meow meow tell. Lu Junchuan looked at her with a smile, thinking to himself that her mind had regressed to childhood. But her love for soft fuzzy things hadn't changed at all. She only remembered the soft fur he had let her touch before. Ling Yu smiled innocently, mumbling, soft, soft. He patted her head and spoke. The pure lotus of the Stainless clan, just one petal can purge all toxins. Ling Hao turned back, frowning. But that's the Stainless clan's ultimate treasure. Even if the Jade Void sect leader personally asked, they wouldn't casually hand over a petal. Lu Junchuan smiled slightly, his tone confident. Since I brought it up, of course I have a way. Hearing this, Xin Yi quickly stood up, clasped his hands in a bow and looked at him with hopeful eyes. If you can save Ling Yu, I'll owe you a favor. In the future, whatever you ask I will agree to. He stepped forward to help Xin Yi up. Ling Yu was already my friend. Saving her is something I do willingly, not a favor. But I do have one request, and it depends on whether the sect leader is willing to agree. Xin Yi quickly asked, What is it? His expression was so calm it was almost sincere. Please, sect leader, marry Ling Hao to me. Ling Hao, hearing her name, paused, and her face immediately flushed red. Lu Junchuan winked at her playfully, and Ling Hao quickly turned her head away to hide her joy. But Xin Yi didn't hesitate to raise his hand in refusal. No, Ling Hao called out unwillingly. Sect leader, Xin Yi sighed regretfully. Both of you, the world is in turmoil now, with demonic cults running rampant. This is exactly the time when someone needs to step up and take charge, to set everything in order. How can we marry off the successor sect leader at a time like this? Ling Hao calmed down after hearing this, thinking to herself that this meant he couldn't agree now, but he could later. Lu Junchuan said helplessly, Then we'll have to wait until everything is completely settled. By this time, many people had gathered outside the room, all looking on with eager anticipation. As soon as the door opened, the sect disciples immediately stirred. "Elder, what's the situation?" But the person who came out was an old physician. He stroked his beard and sighed. The two disciples became even more anxious. "What's happened to the sect leader?" He frowned in difficulty. "Well, this," just then, a subordinate rushed over, whispered a few words in his ear, and his expression immediately changed. He looked at the dispersing crowd. He fell into deep thought. The Jade Void was likely about to face a major crisis. The scene shifted. The crowd was densely packed. A man with a dignified bearing walked out. The crowd was stunned. It was the master of the floating pine hall then. He drew a dagger thick with demonic energy. The crowd immediately stirred. That was the emblem of the Azure Abode. They gathered together, discussing. "No wonder, it really is those heretics, only knowing how to kill. That sword has demonic energy on it. Damn it, these heretics dare to forge weapons with demonic energy. Have they been taken over by the demonic cult? Impossible. The wave-splitting tower has suppressed the eternal dark sea for 1,000 years, and no news has ever come out. What's the situation with the sect leader now? The Jade Void Dao Sect is in trouble both inside and out. There must be someone to take command." The master of the Crimson Flame Hall stepped forward, looking down at the crowd and said sternly, "Everyone, I think what you've said is very reasonable. The Jade Void Dao Sect absolutely cannot be without a leader. The sect leader, my senior brother, is severely injured and unconscious on the verge of death. He has no energy left to manage the sect's internal and external affairs. Therefore I propose that the master of the Kangming Hall, Kai Chunchu, temporarily assume the position of sect leader." Scene shifts to the Jade Void sect leader's room. Shin Yi lay on the bed, looked at the ceiling and sighed. Then he sat up abruptly, muttering to himself, "At my age I still have to pretend to be sick. What a suffering." Ling Hao walked over, sat beside him, squinted her eyes, and said, "Master Chen, I saw you secretly smiling just now." In another room, Kai Chunchu stood before a mirror, adjusting his robes, and curled his lips in satisfaction. 700 years, finally, this day has come." After speaking, he couldn't help but throw his head back and laugh heartily. He walked to the main seat and sat down, his face full of authority. The sect disciples all knelt prostrate before him, shouting, "Hail the sect leader! Hail the great sect leader!" Hearing this, Kai Chunchu closed his eyes, forcibly suppressing the rage in his heart, his gaze fixed on the direction of the voice. It was the envoy from the Sword Pavilion. HMPH, the Sword Pavilion, just the right ones to make an example of. Kai Chunchu suddenly stood up, putting on a sanctimonious air, and said, "The Azure Abode is so vicious, daring to refine poison with demonic energy. The poison is incurable. Now sect leader Shin Yi is on the verge of death, probably won't last more than a few days. Both of you, I have taken up this post in a time of crisis. But we can delay no longer. Since I have shouldered the responsibility of the sect leader, I will do my utmost to reverse the crisis and prevent the Jade Void from falling. Does anyone have any objections?" As soon as he finished speaking, the entire hall fell silent. Kai Chunchu spoke again. "Really no objections." Just as he thought he had achieved his goal, a subordinate rushed in, shouting loudly, "Urgent, urgent report." The hallmaster frowned. "What matter can't wait until after the steel inauguration ceremony?" The subordinate quickly clasped his hands and reported urgently, "Hallmaster, sect leader, the White Tiger has appeared." Hearing this name, the two exclaimed in unison, "What?" The disciples in the hall immediately erupted again. "How is that possible? Hasn't the White Tiger been gone for 1,000 years? Yes, I heard it was subdued by that saint. And now, could that saint be making a move?" Kai Chunchu squinted his eyes, looking at him coldly. "What exactly is going on?" The man knelt on one knee and pointed hastily into the distance. "The White Tiger has appeared in the southwest of the central continent and is heading straight for our Jade Void Dao Sect." Kai Chunchu squinted his eyes, thinking to himself the White Tiger governed slaughter. But then he became puzzled. "Why would the White Tiger come to our Jade Void?" the man stammered. Sect leader." Just then an aged voice came from the room. "Kai Chunchu, forget about the White Tiger. Worry about yourself first." He turned his head sharply, his face full of shock. Shin Yi, the crowd saw the Jade Void sect leader still standing safely before them, their hearts shaken. "Sect leader, how is he unharmed?" Shin Yi sat down in the main seat with a stern face, looking coldly at Kai Chunchu. "Kai Chunchu colluded with the demon of the Azure Abode, not only plotting to harm me and put me to death but also framing Ling Hao, killing over 80 disciples and scheming to seize the position of Jade Void sect leader. His heart is worthy of death, his crimes are unforgivable." Then he took out an object and held it up. "This is the evidence of his collusion with the master of the Azure Abode. Of his entire scheme." The crowd was stunned speechless. Ling Hao stormed in furiously. "Both human and material evidence are here. Kai Chunchu, what do you have to say?" Lu Junchuan swept his sword, cutting down the group behind Kai Chunchu. The master of the Crimson Flame Hall frowned, burning with rage. Just as he was about to shout a reprimand, Lu Junchuan's sharp sword was already across his neck. With a shua sound amidst the crowd's screams, his head was severed with one stroke. Hall master, the remaining people looked at Lu Junchuan, trembling with fear. You, Lu Junchuan turned sideways to reveal Ling Hao behind him and announced coldly. In my heart, the Jade Void has only one sect leader. She hasn't spoken yet. Who do you think you are, daring to spout nonsense with your eyes wide open? Since you have no brains, you don't need that head either. Seeing that over half of the hall had been killed, Kai Chunchu was frantic with rage. He raised his hand and pointed at him. Sword Pavilion, are you openly declaring war on the Jade Void Dao Sect? Ling Hao walked in, dragging an assassin, and casually threw the person to the ground. The sword at the man's waist fell off. The crowd saw the pattern on the sword and stirred again. Isn't this the shadow path of the Azure Abode? This is the third-ranked assassin. The crowd then looked up at Ling Hao. Exclaimed, Ling Hao, so she's not dead after all. Ling Hao the Immortal is as elegant as ever. Kai Chunchu gritted his teeth as he looked at the old man in the room. He didn't expect Shin Yi to also look at him coldly. When you killed over 80 disciples on the Spirit Transformation River, did you ever think this day would come? While the crowd was still stunned, the master of the Crimson Flame Hall actually grew another head, taking over the command. He's already been invaded by demonic energy. What are you waiting for? Don't you listen to the sect leader? Demonic invasion, attack him, all of you. Lu Junchuan raised his sword, looking at him coldly. Who do you think you are, daring to represent the Jade Void Dao Sect? Who gave you the guts? Now both human and material evidence are here. All fellow Taoists have seen clearly. You and your accomplices colluded with the evil sect, murdered fellow disciples, framed the Jade Void sect leader. Your crimes are monstrous, and yet you still dare to spout nonsense here. You have truly disgraced the Jade Void. Hearing this, Kai Chunchu was so angry he ground his teeth. Lu Junchuan curled his lips as he looked at him, continuing to pour fuel on the fire. I think the one who truly wants to be an enemy of the Jade Void is clearly you, Kai Chunchu quickly retorted. Bloody slander, these things could easily be forged, he explained frantically. I have devoted myself to the Jade Void Dao Sect for over 1,000 years. How can you, an outsider, make me a suspect? Lu Junchuan glanced sideways and sneered. Oh, he stepped forward and spoke loudly to the crowd. All the various sects and schools are gathered here today. Nearly half of the central continent is present. Since that's the case, why not invite a few influential figures to personally examine these pieces of evidence, to see if they are real or fake, and whether they are forged or not? The crowd all looked at Kai Chunchu. Yes, wouldn't an examination clear everything up? There are so many highly skilled experts here, can't they even tell that much? Kai Chunchu pressed his lips tightly together, furious and frustrated in his heart. The hall master hiding behind the crowd also pressed his lips together, thinking that since things had come to this there was no other way. Besides, he could no longer distance himself from Kai Chunchu now. They could only live or die together. He leaned against the wall, raised his hand and pressed a mechanism to activate the formation. Instantly, a thunder formation descended from the sky, stunning all the disciples. Heavenly thunder struck down from the high sky. Kai Chunchu looked at Lu Junchuan with a vicious glare and said maliciously, I just need to blame all your deaths on demonic invasion and the purging of traitors. The disciples behind him had long been knocked unconscious, but Lu Junchuan still stood there, letting out a mocking laugh. Ha, did you think I hadn't anticipated this step? He closed his eyes, concentrating. The Nine Heavens True Thunder Formation. A player's total power had many ways to quickly break through it. They had long since farmed this dungeon to death. One strategy cleared it in 10 minutes. He had heard that the first person to discover it was just an ordinary player who entered the dungeon looking for materials, but accidentally found that in the dungeon environment there were no invisible walls. As long as you ran to the square outside and casually completed the daily and contribution point quests at the Preaching Stele, you could awaken the remnant souls of the past patriarchs enshrined within it. And once they discovered that someone in the hall had activated the Nine Heavens True Thunder Formation, they would automatically identify that person as a sect traitor and conveniently take action to eliminate them. It was later even confirmed by the officials as the standard strategy. While he was still deep in thought, he heard a clang. Unbeknownst to him, Kai Chunchu and Shin Yi had already engaged in combat. His expression changed and his pupils contracted sharply. Damn it! Taking this opportunity, that hall master threw a punch. Lu Junchuan had no time to react and was directly knocked to the ground. Ah! He was sent flying, letting out a muffled groan. On the other side, Shin Yi and Kai Chunchu were still locked in combat, their expressions unchanged. Kai Chunchu's attacks were relentless, forcing Shin Yi to take a step back. He curled his lips in satisfaction. Ha! But the next second, Kai Chunchu suddenly froze. The formation had stopped. He looked around. There was no more lightning or thunder. Suddenly the sound of a bell echoed in the wind. Lu Junquan paused abruptly, muttering to himself, 9 tolls. He raised his hand to wipe the blood from the corner of his mouth, his tone full of triumph. The Preaching Stele has been erected. The past patriarchs of the Jade Void Dao Sect have manifested. The 9 Heavens True Thunder formation has also stopped. Who is the true sect leader? Who is the traitor? I think everyone here already knows the answer. Seeing this, the sect disciples were all somewhat hesitant. This, Kai Chunchu, frantic with rage, signaled with his eyes to kill him first. Lu Junquan had just turned his head when he saw that hallmaster charging at him again. He took a step back and said softly, "Here we go again." At that moment, just as the opponent's feet left the ground, countless sharp swords suddenly shot from behind him. The hallmaster was pierced by a sword, his whole body trembling violently. Then rows of flying swords pierced through his body. He clutched his chest, trembling, his gaze falling on Ling Hao. The BALA sword art, she has actually cultivated it to the highest level. She dares to kill me directly. This was not Ling Hao's style at all. Before he could come to his senses, several more swords were driven into the ground, surrounding him. The hallmaster stared blankly at the sword shadows that were gradually forming an illusion. This was, the sword hilts glowed simultaneously. Then a condensed bolt of thunder struck directly down on his head. The hallmaster let out a miserable scream. "Ah!" Kai Chunchu, seeing his accomplice's fate, opened his mouth wide, his face full of terror. "Clearly, I am the mastermind. Why is my junior brother's fate worse than mine?" Had he offended Ling Hao before? The master of the floating pine hall was tortured until his whole body was stiff and he fell heavily to the ground. The disciples exclaimed, "It's the Preaching Stele." They turned around and saw that a stone stele had been erected. The one who erected the stele was Ling Hao. The crowd couldn't help but marvel. This is probably the tallest and most content-rich Preaching Stele in the history of the Jade Void Dao Sect, right? Someone else changed the subject. Even the patriarchs have acknowledged her. Those traitors tried to activate the formation with the profound void sword, but it was forcibly shut down. Comparing the two is just laughable. Ling Hao the Immortal is truly a genius. Who else could be the Jade Void sect leader if not her? Amidst all the cheers around her, her gaze remained fixed on Lu Junquan. He also sensed that gaze, turned his head and gave her a slight smile. Someone explained in a low voice, Ling Hao was ruthless to the hallmaster, not because he helped Kai Chunchu, but because he targeted Lu Junquan. That's all. Xin Yi's eyes were full of pride. "Truly my disciple." Kai Chunchu, left behind, shouted unwillingly, "Your disciple, the cultivation method she practices was obtained from me." Xin Yi glared at him threateningly. "Shut your mouth." Then he raised his hand and solemnly announced, "The Preaching Stele has been erected. I am also aware that I am advanced in years and can no longer continue to serve as sect leader. Today happened to be the grand ceremony for erecting the stele and spreading the teachings. And the traitor had also been eliminated. It was an auspicious day, so why not hold the leader's abdication ceremony as well?" Just then, the second senior brother of the dancing hall spoke up, "Isn't this a bit too rushed? The envoy from Zhanhai Tower hasn't returned yet, and the current situation still needs some settling." Suddenly, a loud crash left him frozen in place, and everyone turned to look. A white tiger appeared, startling the crowd into screams. It's the White Tiger, Divine Lord." Immediately, everyone bowed their heads respectfully and said in unison, "We pay homage to the White Tiger, Divine Lord." Lu Junquan crossed his arms and stared at the White Tiger, thinking to himself, "Isn't this the guardian beast at Senior Shia's doorstep?" The White Tiger also looked at him, silently thinking, "This illusion is Lu Junquan again." After a moment of silence, Lu Junquan smiled and raised his hand in greeting. "Yo." The White Tiger bared its teeth and grinned back. "Yo." He kept his arms crossed, watching the tiger with a slight smirk, thinking, "If the White Tiger has come, Xie Qian is really doing me a favor." The onlookers were stunned, their eyes wide. The Divine Lord had even greeted him first. The White Tiger didn't linger long and walked straight up to Ling Hao. "My master sent me to congratulate the new leader of Yuxu Dao Sect on taking the throne." Hearing this, the crowd had no more doubts. Their mouths hung open in shock. Even the sage had spoken. This essentially means Ling Hao is the new leader of Yuxu Dao Sect. Xin Or smiled with satisfaction and shouted loudly, "Congratulations to the new leader of Yuxu Dao Sect on ascending the throne." Everyone bowed their heads to Ling Hao and shouted in unison, "Congratulations to the new sect leader on taking the throne." That very day, news spread across the entire central region that Ling Hao had executed Kai Chunchu and his accomplices, and that she had succeeded as the leader of Yuxu. In the room, Ling Hao leaned softly into Lu Junquan's arms and asked, "When do you plan to set off?" He wrapped his arm around her waist, suddenly spinning her to sit on his lap, and said calmly, "The head of the Zhanyin clan, Yi family head, still wants to fight me. Once she arrives, my letter should have reached them too. I'll take this chance to wrap up everything, and then I need to head to the northern prefecture." Ling Hao looked at him. "Yi family head, Yi Kong's mother, you're not planning to wipe them all out, are you? I've heard that the women of the Zhanyin clan Yuan Hong still keeps them around." His expression stiffened, and he quickly denied it. No, no, how could that be? Do I look like someone who doesn't know the rules? Ling Hao gently cupped his face and said, if you can take control of the Zhan Yin clan, I fully support it. I told you when we reunited. I'll support anything that benefits you. Lu Junquan hesitated instead. How could I? If I really did that, what about Conky? Ling Hao immediately cut him off with a soft "oh." I also heard that Duan Lanruo's daughter Duan Ling has a very graceful figure. The mother and daughter rely on each other and are deeply attached. I wonder if City Lord Duan would be willing to marry her off. His mouth twitched as he stared blankly at her, and couldn't help but think to himself, did Ling Hao even bribe Kai Ying? Ling Hao covered her mouth with a light laugh. All right, I'm not here to interrogate you. If I were, I'd first ask where those 100+ letters of yours were sent. Hearing this, he froze completely, but soon propped his chin up and said with feigned helplessness, when I get to the northern prefecture, Hong Fu and Kai Ying will stay in Yushu for now. Their strength isn't enough, and having them with me would only be more dangerous. Ling Hao turned to look at him. And what about Huang Quan? Just then, she suddenly sensed movement, and quickly pushed him away. Hide quickly, someone's coming. A figure appeared at the door. Elder, an envoy from Zhanhai Tower requests an audience. She hurriedly dressed and replied, I understand. Ling Hao bit her lip, a sense of unease rising in her heart. Why did the envoy from Zhanhai Tower have to come at this very moment and silently make it all the way outside? Gu Xian followed old Chen in, sobbing and crying. Ling Hao frowned. Gu Xian? She then turned to old Chen and asked politely, may I ask what important matter brings the envoy here this time? Old Chen sighed and replied, I must take the descendant of Xuanwu back to Zhanhai Tower. The initial choice was the disciple of the former leader, Jiyu Changui, but since she has already joined Yushu, we had to settle for Gu Xian instead. Ling Hao pressed further, confused. And what about her now? Gu Xian wiped her eyes, sobbing indistinctly, Junquan Zhe, woo. And that wraps up the incredibly satisfying journey of this series. Beyond the epic level-ups, without a doubt, the most irresistible charm of this story lies in its stunning harem cast surrounding our main character. From fierce, high-spirited beauties to overpowered goddesses, the hilarious and sweet interactions between the male lead and his waifus have provided us with top-tier entertainment. Our recap video today officially ends right here, marking the conclusion at chapter 177 of the original manhwa. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell to support BALA Manhua Recaps. Your support is the greatest motivation for our team to keep producing even more high-quality videos for you. Also, there are plenty of other epic and exciting series waiting for you on our channel. Click right on the playlist on your screen to check them out. Thank you so much for watching until the very end. Goodbye, and see you in the next epic stories.